Hello. How y'all doing this wonderful Monday? Almost spring. We don't want to let us go yet, though. We're like, nah, we ain't letting you go. It's almost spring. I lost a whole hour of sleep, and I'm still feeling it from yesterday. That is so weird how that works. Like, even if I slept the same amount of time that I would normally sleep on a Saturday, I still feel like I lost that hour of sleep. So it's just weird. I don't know. I guess it's just our body dichotomy or something. I don't know. But thank y'all for joining me here today. I give this maybe just 1 minute or so because we got a lot to cover today. So I'll just give like 2 minutes for people to come in. How you doing, Sister Wanda? Glad you're here. Appreciate you being here tonight. I'm going to give just about a couple of minutes for people to come in. Then I'm going to go ahead and get started. Like I said, I got a lot I want to cover today. So we're getting into the meat of the lesson tonight. Y'all saw last week. How you doing, Sister Wanda? Y'all saw last week, I did more of a intro. The title of this lesson is called, if you saw from Facebook, was looking at the life of Samson, and it's called The Results of Sin. And we're looking at what sin would do to your life. And like I said, last week was more of an introduction. When we got into it last, what up, Andy? Glad you're here, man. Appreciate you being here. You've been coming in the last few weeks, man. I really appreciate it. Glad you're here, man. But like I said, last week was more of an introduction. And we kind of looked, because we actually gonna get into it today. We're gonna start looking at Samson and how he lived his life. And last week I wanted to look at his parents, because he's gonna do a lot of things he's not supposed to be doing, and he's gonna go in the wrong direction. And and I wanted to look at the parents, see like, well, maybe it was his upbringing. But as we saw from last week, the introduction we went through, looked at the life of his parents, we saw it wasn't his parents. His parents was actually faithful people, faithful enough to where the angel of the Lord himself came down and talked with them. And even God himself granted the dad Manoah, even though he didn't have as much faith as his wife did, he still granted him his prayer request. You know what I'm saying? So it shows you that he had good faithful parents, but at the same time he chose to go in the direction that he was not supposed to go. And because of that, there's going to be some things that's going to happen. So like I said, tonight we'll get in the meat of this, and I've done this lesson before in the past, but I wanted to do it all at once because you got to get to the end of this. So I'm praying that y'all will put forward the effort. Like, even if you don't watch the video, like I said, the first video was more of just an intro, and it looked at his parents. Like, not that it wasn't important, but these next three lessons, I don't know if I'm going to do a 2 or 3, it depends. I know tonight is just one chapter by itself. We're going to be in chapter 14 if we're going to go to your Bible. But I'm praying that y'all will put forth the effort to make sure you, even if you don't watch it live, to watch all these lessons, because it's so important, because you got to see how it ends. And it's just too much in between now and the ending for me to do it all in one lesson. And that's what I did in the past. When I've done this lesson, I did it all in once, and it ended up being like 3 hours, and I skipped so much. I had to skip so much just to get it within that 3 hours. Because it was so much there. And that's why I said this time when I go through, I'm going to go through one chapter at a time, so I'm not rushing through it. Because like when I first did the lesson, like I said, it took about 3 hours and I only had 12 points. Well, y'all remember that we got last week, I think I had 15 points alone just on the intro last week. And then tonight I got 12 more points that I came up with tonight. So to show you how much I kind of glazed over, and I don't want to do that. I want to really get into this lesson, and because it's one of my favorite lessons on the Bible, and it's something that I think everybody can relate to, because we've all been in the same position that Samson is going to get himself in, because that's what sin to do for us. Sin has all enticed us away from the will of God and got us in position that we didn't need to be in. And that's kind of what happened with Samson. So like I said, I pray y'all will do y'all due diligence and put forth an effort to make sure you catch all 3 of these lessons, because they all 3 go together. And if you don't see the last one and get to the end and how it all ends out, it's kind of, you can still get, you're going to get something from each one. I'll just say you're going to get something from each one, but you want to get the full message. Hey, Nikki, glad you're here too. You and Anthony, my old folks, man. I truly miss y'all. We got the launch sheet tomorrow, and I miss y'all being there, and it's just harassing me in person. But I'm glad y'all at least on here and getting to hear the message. So I appreciate y'all. That really touched my heart that y'all are here. But like I said, man, just try to do due diligence to get into all the lessons, because these next 3 we're gonna get into the meat of it now, and we're gonna really start to see the results of sin. And the reason why I say it's so important for y'all to get all that, because I think if you see it in Samson's life, that's what the Bible is examples. That's why the Lord gave us these stories of David and Samson and these kind of men, and saw the decisions that they made and where their decisions led to. And I think if we just look at their lives, and if we have wisdom, by looking at their lives, we'll be able to avoid these troubles in our lives and stay out of these situations in our lives. So I pray that y'all will, like I said, put some effort into watching all three of these videos. Again, not just to get my numbers up, because they all three go together. And I think you need to see all three to get the full picture of the road that you will be on if you just give in to your flesh and live a life of sin instead of doing the things that God wants you to do. So, of course, last week, like I said, we just looked at, I'm not going to re-go over last week because it's almost a separate lesson because we just looked at the parents. And we looked at how the situation came about. Of course, you know, the mom and dad, the mom was barren, didn't have any children. And we talked about how that was kind of an embarrassment back in that time of day, not being able to have children, because they looked at that as like you were cursed. You were such a terrible person that the Lord didn't bless you with children. That was a blessing to have kids back then. And of course, we know the angel of the Lord, she was a woman of faith. She kept on serving the Lord. The Lord sent the angel and told her one day she's going to have a child. And that child, and what is important to point out, he told her she's going to have a child and he's going to be a Nazarite, which means he's dedicated to the Lord. And he gave us some rules and regulations. You know, he said that she couldn't eat, matter of fact, when he first told her about it, he said, you must not drink wine or any other alcoholic drink or eat any forbidden food. Food, you become pregnant and give birth to a son, and his hair must never be cut. And these are all things that they had to do to become a Nazarite. And then I also explained the Nazarite is like, like a preacher to the 10th power. Like he's a preacher, but he goes a little bit above and beyond what the normal preachers would have to do. There were some extra things he had to, stick to. Like, when most preachers, if you look through the Old Testament, with most preachers and priests, they was still allowed, well, except for I think the priests, but most preachers and people in the church, they were still allowed to go to attend the funerals of those that was close to them, like their daughter died or their mother or dad died, something like that. They were still allowed to go to those funerals. With a Nazarite, they couldn't. They couldn't go to any funerals. They couldn't be around any dead bodies. They couldn't be around for the forbidden food. They could even, not only could they not eat it, they couldn't even touch it. They couldn't even be around it. You know, so keep that in mind as we go through this lesson tonight, because we're going to see some of the things that Samson's going to do that's going to keep him from doing that. But again, we looked at his parents. We saw his parents brought him up right. They did their best. They brought him up right. They was good, godly people. But yet this man here, he's going to choose to make some decisions that's going to get himself in trouble. And you remember I talked about, of course, the things he's going to be doing is sinning. And I talked about last week, why do we sin? I put the question out to y'all for the intro, why do we sin? And oftentimes, and we're going to see this as we go through this lesson, and that's why I say it's going to come out over the next three lessons. That's why I hope y'all will watch all the videos. But you'll see it's going to be two components to it. A lot of it, oftentimes we don't truly realize how much our actions affect everyone in our world. And we're going to kind of see that a little bit here tonight. We're going to see how his actions are going to be affecting everybody around him and not necessarily him. And then a lot of times we don't see the end. And of course, that's what we know going to happen to Samson. He don't see the end of this path that he's about to start as we go through this chapter tonight. He's going to start on a path that's going to lead him down to a dark end. You know, and he don't see that. That's why he's going to be doing the things he's doing. And not only that, he's not going to see the people that he's affecting around him. So those are two of the main reasons why we do a lot of the stuff we do, even though we know we're not supposed to be doing it. And I hope once we look at this lesson of Samson and see how it affected him, and more importantly, how it affected the people around him and what it did to him in his world, that you will see the importance of making those right decisions to do the things that you know you're supposed to be doing, and stand away from the things you're not supposed to be doing. So with that being said, like I said, just a quick introduction, and we're going to jump right into it because I want to cover all these tonight, and I want to keep this video, I don't want it to be too long. And for some reason now, when I do my lives, it'll show my battery power, and it'll show like a clock on my clock on here, but it's not doing it the last 3 times. It hasn't done that. So I got my alarm clock in here so I time myself because I don't want to go too long, because I really want people to watch videos, but I know a lot of people, sadly enough, they'll sit there and binge a movie or binge their favorite show, but they won't put in an hour and a half or 2 hours to get the word of God. So I try to keep it short, but at the same time, I'm going to make sure I spend the amount of time that I feel is sufficient to bring bring forth the wisdom in this story. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pray so we can jump into tonight's lesson. Dear Lord, our Heavenly Father, thank you so much for watching over us. Thank you for another wonderful day. But more important, Lord, thank you for another wonderful opportunity to get into your word. and receive the wisdom that you have for us, Lord. Of course, you know, this is one of my favorite stories of the Bible, looking at the life of Samson. And it's so weird because until I really started reading the Bible myself and just studying this life of Samson and myself and presenting myself, I've always looked at Samson as a hero. And when you look at most movies, he's portrayed as a hero. And, you know, and most people, when you ask about Samson, they look at him as a hero. But really, he was a knucklehead. He was a bad dude, and he did a lot of stuff that he was not supposed to do. And it led him down a path that ended up being his destruction, basically his demise, because of the decision he's made and the things that he's done. So I ask you just watch over us as we go through this. Help us to see that, and send your spirit down upon me so I can bring out this truth, Lord, and not elaborate on too long, but make sure I spend enough time on it to help people understand the importance of being obedient to your word and doing the things they're supposed to do and staying away from things they're not supposed to do. So I ask you send your spirit down upon me and use me tonight to bring this lesson forth. And I also ask you send your spirit down upon the hearts and the minds of those that's watching this video so the wisdom may soak into their hearts and they may use it to make better decisions in their lives so they can have a closer relationship with you and be used by you as well. We thank you so much for all you've done and given. Thank you for this opportunity. And I say this prayer in your wonderful son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so I don't know if I said it already, but we're going to be in Judges chapter 14. If you got your Bibles and you want to follow along. And of course, I'm going to be reading out the New Living Translation. If y'all watch my videos enough, y'all know I'm reading out the New Living Translation. I am a King James believer. I know my preacher, he always stepping on my toes about it. He always getting on us about the false Bibles. But I really do believe that it just helps explain the story a little bit more and put it in plain English. And of course, there's a couple of times tonight where I'm going to read out the King James Version, because you do lose something. I will say that you do lose something from the King James, and then with all these other versions, you lose a little bit, because the other version, they tend to, for some reason, the way they word it or translate it, it tends to take away from the power of what's really being said in some statements. And I got a couple of those tonight. But for the most part, everything is just putting it in plain English so you understand what's being said. And I want to do that for my Lost Sheep ministry. So, of course, we're going to be in Judges chapter 14. And we're going to start off now where we at, just to kind of get the mind frame of where we at. Y'all know we're going through the vicious cycle is what I've been going through. Going through the vicious cycle. And right now we're kind of in the middle. They're coming out of, they was in apathy. And they was in destruction, so they're kind of coming out of destruction because they humbled themselves and they called out to the Lord. And the Lord sent this guy Samson here to rescue them out of the destruction era that they in. So they kind of in the middle of destruction and humbleness. And this story here of Samson is going to show how God is going to use Samson to bring about the blessing and rescue them out of the oppression that they're going through. So that's where we at. So we're still in the cycle, but this is just a story on how the Lord is going to use this man here, Samson, as a judge to bring about the blessing. So, you know, we saw last week where, you know, of course, his parents was barren, his mom was barren, couldn't have a child. The angel showed up and said, hey, you're going to have a child, gave him the regulations on how the child should behave, the things she should do. Of course, obey all the rules of the Israelites, which I don't want to go through all the rules. A couple of them I'll bring up, but if you go through your Old Testament, you'll know there's a lot of rules and regulations that you have to follow. So he's supposed to follow all those plus a few extra ones because he was dedicated as a Nazarite. So we see where he's born, and it talks about how the Spirit of the Lord started to take control of him as he started to grow up. So when we left, he was maybe a young child. I would say they don't really give ages exactly, but my guesstimation just about what he's doing, where he's at with his parents. I would say when we left, he's around kind of like Jesus was a little bit, because, you know, we see Jesus up to about 12, and then we don't see him again until he's like 30. Well, with Samson, I think we left off, he's around 12, somewhere between 12 and 15. And this story here, where we're going to start off tonight, I would say he's young, in his early 20s, maybe somewhere around 21, 22, somewhere in that area is where he's at now. So he's a young man, you know what I'm saying? He's definitely, we're going to be able to tell that he's into women and he's at the age to be married and things of that nature. So I believe that he's around, I say early 20s, somewhere between 20 and 24, just for the sake of the argument. And each chapter, he's going to kind of be a time skip, and he's going to be a little older, because these next 3 chapters, something to understand, the reason why I want to get the timing down for y'all, it takes place over about a period of 20 years. So that's why I say there's going to be some little time skips. They don't really say the time skips, but right here I would say he's around 20, somewhere between 20 and 24 years old. So if you got your Bible, in Judges chapter 14, verse 1. And the first paragraph I'm going to show you. Now, again, the title of the lesson is the results of sin. And last week we just looked at, again, it was an intro, looked at the life of his parents. Now tonight we're going to get into the meat. There was more, like last week was more, like I said, it was more of the appetizer. Tonight we're going to sink our teeth into the meat. And the next 3 chapters we're going to really be, chewing on the meat. And that's why I say I hope y'all would make the effort to watch all 3 so you can really get the importance of the lesson. So starting off in chapter 14, verse 1, it says, the Lord tells us this, verse 1 and 2. It says, so one day when Samson was in Timnah, he noticed a certain Philistine woman. When he returned home, he told his father and mother, I want to marry a young woman I saw in Timnah. So number 1, the very first one, and this is the first result of sin, something that's going to happen, because when I say the results of sin, these are the things that happen because you sin. When you sin, these things are going to happen. One of the things that's going to happen is, number 1, and we've all fallen victim to this. I still suffer from this one. But number 1 is this: lust and the inability to appreciate the blessings that God has already given you. That is a result of sin. If you find yourself unhappy, no matter how much money you have, no matter how nice your house is, no matter how nice your car is, no matter what comes in your life, you still seem to be unhappy. That's a result of sin, because you always want more. We always want more. That's why when you make God your priority and you still feel the same way about the things of God, then you'll be able to build his kingdom, because you always want, like me, I love soul winning. There's nothing I love more than soul winning. And I think it's been like 3-4 weeks since I've led somebody to the Lord. So I'm like, Lord, please, you know what I'm saying? I look forward to being able to do that, to build your kingdom. You know what I'm saying? I don't care how many, like I remember when I was like, man, I can't wait to see 100 people saved. I can't wait till I get there. I thought that was a big thing. So far, it's been over 400 something. I've had about 430 some people saved, and I still want more. Now I want to reach 1,000. It's not hoping before I die to reach 1 million or 1 billion. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, I want to see the whole world saved. That's my ultimate goal, is to see the whole world saved. Why? Because I could never get enough of that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not lusted after that, but that's the desire of my heart, to see the world saved, to see souls saved. But see, when you're sinning, and when you're living in the flesh, it's going to be opposite. The desire of your heart is going to be to have worldly things. So you're going to lust out the worldly thing. Now you see here, he said, he saw a woman. You know what I'm saying? In other words, he probably saw her. She might have had a fat booty or something. I don't know what it was about this woman that drove this man crazy, but he saw it and he wanted it. You know what I'm saying? He told his woman told his dad. You know what he said? He said, I want to marry a young Philistine woman I saw in Timnah. He didn't say I need to marry. He said I want to marry. See, because he was lusting after that woman. Now, see the significance in that, and why I say it's lust, because he's not supposed, if you know the law, like I said, I'll bring up some of the rules that show you some of the things that he did he wasn't supposed to do. If you know the laws of the Israelite law, the Israelites were not supposed to marry anybody outside of the Israelites, because all the other nations around them, especially at this time of Judges, because in Judges was a time when they was going back and forth worshiping other gods other than God. So this is a time where they really need to be strict on their law of not marrying outside the Israelites, because most other nations around them, they worship, matter of fact, all the nations around them, except for the nation of Israel, worship other gods, and they worship many gods. You know what I'm saying? They worship a lot of idols. And that was the reason why the Lord gave them the restriction to not marry outside of the Israelites, because he knew that if they married the women outside of the Israelite women, then they were going to worship other gods like the other women did. And matter of fact, we see that happen with Solomon. Solomon had, I think it said 1,000 wives and was it 700 wives and 300 concubines? It was 1,000 altogether, And he was one of the dudes that was called the wisest men in the Bible, one of the wisest men to ever live. But yet, toward the end of his life, what it said about them wives, it said his wives pulled his heart away from God. And he started worshiping idols, and he started worshiping the gods, because he married from all over. He didn't just marry Israelites, he married from all over. Some of it was more political things. He would marry the daughter of a king, so they can make alliances, because they used to do things like that. But some of it was just out of lust, it's the lust of his heart. And of course, since he brought all these foreign wives in, they wanted to, he didn't bring them in and say, okay, you got to worship my God. He brought them in and let them worship their own God. And there was even a point where he set up temples in Jerusalem for them to go worship their gods. And then if you look till the end of his life, he went and did the same thing. You see, all because he was lusting for all these women he had. 700. I can barely take care of one. I can barely deal with one. I can imagine 1,000 redskins running around here. You know, it ain't no way in the world I can do that. You know, but this guy, he had 1,000 of them. You know, it was all because of lust. And Samson was falling into the same thing. And see, that's the result of sin. You lust. You know what I'm saying? No matter how much God has blessed you, you should be happy. You might not have the food that you want, but if you understand God's love and you understand the blessings of God, you should be happy that you understand that you have food. You understand it's a blessing that you have food. You might not have the brand new Jordans, but you got shoes on your feet. You know what I'm saying? You might not be living in a mansion, but you got a roof over your head. You're not sleeping outside in the cold. You know, when you serve the Lord, you understand what Paul made this, one of my favorite guys, he made a statement. You know, one of my favorite Bible people, he made a statement. I won't say character because it may seem like it's fake, but one of my favorite biblical people was Paul, because he talked about how you got to learn how to be content. He said, because I am in the Lord, I know how to be content. He said, whether I got a lot or a little, whether I got, you know what I'm saying, whether I have something or nothing at all, I'm still happy because of my relationship with the Lord. And see, that's what the love for the Lord would do. It won't make you lust after everything else. You can be content. Now, being content don't mean that you just give up on life. Like, oh, well, I got a job and I got all this, I might well not strive. No, you can still strive to be better. Like me, I got a house, a house that in the country. I got this awesome job that I have, you know, awesome church that I go to. I got a vehicle that's on its last leg, but it still get me from A to B. It's been reliable. I'm happy with those things, but that don't mean I don't need a new vehicle, which I'm hoping to get here soon, because this is on its last leg, and I'm working to get that new vehicle. It's not that I'm not happy with the vehicle that I got. I just know that I need a better one if I want to be able to do this work. You know what I'm saying? Same with this house. Like, this house is nice, but it got some stuff that need to be fixed on it. And before I buy a house, I want to make sure I'm in a position to buy something that's going to really shelter us and be here for a long time. This house here, if you don't get some repairs on it within the recent years, and sooner than later, you know, it might fall down on us. Now, it ain't falling apart, but it just definitely got some moisture issues that we've been finding since we've been here. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that you should just be happy you got something. No, I can work to get something better, but I'm not miserable and upset at the world because I don't have nothing better. See, that's what people do. Well, I got a car, but I ain't got a Cadillac. So they all down, they all sad sack. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I know I'm eating food. You know, so I'm eating Roman noodles, but I'm not eating steak. So they said they don't really appreciate what they have. And see, the Lord told them, hey, you need to make sure you marry within the Israelites. You know what I'm saying? Marry within the Israelite nation. That way you can stay faithful to me. It's not that I'm trying to keep you from having fun. I'm not trying to keep you from enjoying something else. I'm just trying to make sure you're not going to go do something that's going to take you away from me. And like I said, when you look at Solomon, that's exactly what happened with Solomon. So that's one of the results of sin. When you're sinning, when you're sinning, and you're doing what you want to do instead of doing what you're supposed to do, you're always going to do what you need to do, want to do to feed that flesh, no matter what it is. You know what I'm saying? What is it? Drugs, alcohol, women, men, whatever it is, money. You're never going to have enough. You're never going to be content, and you're never going to be able to really truly look at the blessings that you've always had. I remember I was like that before I gave my life to God, and I remember I lived my life give my life to God. It was crazy. When I was living for myself, I had more money and I had more things, but I was miserable. And then when I gave my life to God, of course, I'm broker and I got less things, but I'm happy because I realized I have the things that really truly matter. First of all, I have a close relationship with the Lord. That's more important than anything that we'll ever get in this world, is a close relationship with the Lord. I have a wife that loves me, that's loyal to me, as far as I know. You know, you wouldn't be slick. But I mean, I have a wife that loves me and that's loyal to me. I have kids that adore me. You know, some people, they come home, they wife and kids try to hide to get out of their way. They don't want to be around them. Whereas the opposite of me, I walk in and they want to be around me. Dad, what you been doing? How's your day going? You know what I'm saying? They want to spend time around me and I want to spend time around them. You got people that hate being around their kids. I don't have to deal with that. Those are true blessings. Those are true blessings, and sin takes those things away from you. It keeps you from seeing what you really have. That's why you got these men out here that have affairs on their wife, because they didn't appreciate what they had at first. You know, they appreciate what they had in the first place. You know what I'm saying? That's why you got men that walk out on their kids, because they didn't really appreciate the blessing they have, because they were so intent on sinning and do what they want to do instead of enjoying what the Lord had gave them. So that's one of the first things. You got to think about it. Lust is what took down David. Now, again, I talk about Solomon, but look at his dad, David. David was another one that the Bible itself, God himself said, he's a man after my own heart. That's what God said. That's how close David was walking with God. That's how much God loved David. He said he's a man after my own heart. Yet, what happened to David? He was taking a nap one day. You know what I'm saying? So he's supposed to be off at war. Instead of being at war, he stayed at home, sent the boys off to play, and he stayed at the house, taking a nap, got up late, and walking across the roof and saw a lady taking a bath. And he said when he saw her, he inquired of her, he lusted, because that's where it starts. Most of our sin starts with our eyes. It starts with us seeing something. We see it, and then we see it, and then we desire it. And it might be something that we can't have. You know what I'm saying? It might be something our neighbor have. Like I got a neighbor that lives beside me. This dude got like 4 or 5 cars. You know what I'm saying? Some nice cars. I would love to have some of those cars. You know what I'm saying? But I don't lust after his car. I don't covet after his car because the one of the commandments don't covet after their neighbor's things. You know what I'm saying? I misquoted that, but it's talking about the covenant of your heart. And that's what lust is. That's what lust is. You coveting for something that you want, that you really can't have. You know, and it all starts with a look. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know I'm pretty open on here, so this ain't a shock to y'all, but I used to watch pornos all the time. I used to watch it all the time, and I noticed that, and I would go months at a time without watching them, and then something happened and I ended up watching again. Now, it's been a couple of years since the last time I watched, so I've been doing good, but, I would have these little breaks where I would watch them. But I noticed when I was watching pornos, that's when I always was lusting for other women. That's what I was always thinking about, what I could be having out there, what else is out there in these streets, basically, whenever I watch pornos. But I noticed when I wasn't watching pornos, I always appreciated my wife a lot more than when I was watching pornos. Why? Because that porno built up that lust in my heart. And instead of me being able to appreciate what I already had at the house, I was worried about what was out there in them streets, worried about that grass green on the other side. And you know what I'm saying? And a lot of guys do that and they end up giving in. I thank God I never gave into it, but a lot of guys do that and they give into it only to realize that grass never was greener. The greenest grass they was going to ever have was already at the house, and they lost it because they was pursuing other pastors. You know what I'm saying? That's what sin would do to you. It'll put you in that mind. It'll cloud your mind, and it'll cloud your judgment, and it'll keep you from seeing clearly the things that the Lord is doing for you in your life. And you go pursue other things, and you end up losing out because of it. And that's what's going to happen here with Samson. So we see where his sin started. It started with some lust. He was lusting his eyes. He went down to Timnah, and he saw some girl. She was fine. You know what I'm saying? Probably had her cleavage out, and, had on some types. I don't know what they wore back then. They didn't wear stuff like that we were then. But whatever it was he saw, it got his attention. And he was like, man, that's the one I want. You know what I'm saying? So it started with a lust in his eyes, and that's what sin do. It'll bring that lust into your life. It'll make you lust after things that you're not supposed to have, and it'll make you want things that you're not supposed to have, and it'll lead you down a path of darkness that's going to lead you away from the Lord. And that's the worst part of it. So number one, lust and the ability to appreciate the blessings God has given you. That's one of the results. That's one of the first results that you would get of sin. And it's not the main one. It's just the first one we came through. But a lot of them we're going to come through. Like I said, we got 12 tonight. Well, 11 of them is going to be results. One of them is going to be something else. But, you know what I'm saying? That's one of the results of sin. Lust and the inability to try to appreciate the blessings God has given you. You're always lusting and coveting after something else, even though what you have is what you need, and God has blessed you with more than enough. So number one, lust and the inability to appreciate the blessings God has given you. So then in verse 3, it's 3 and 4, just 3. Verse 3 says, so his father and mother, so he went to his mama and told him, mom, dad, hey, I just saw this girl, man, she was fine as hell. She got the big booty and breasts and like I ain't never seen. I want her. That's what it's been. I want her. So his parents, again, understand the situation, because this was a Philistine woman. She was a pagan woman. They were not supposed to be with these kind of women. They were supposed to marry within the Israelites so they would stay close to God. So watch what happens. So in verse 3, it said his father and mother objected strenuously. Which means they got on him. Isn't there one woman in our tribe or among all the Israelites you could marry? Why must you go to the pagan Philistines to find a wife? So they knew the severity of it. But here's the thing. I'm going to read now. This is one, like I told you, I'm going to read some King James. This is one in the King James, because the way they said this shows this ain't the first time he's had, the way the King James worded it shows this is not the first time this has happened. If you read verse 3 over in the King James Version, he said, then his father and his mother said unto him, is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all my people, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistine. So you see what it said? Is there never a woman? See, this ain't the first time they've had to deal with this with Samson. This ain't the first time they had to tell him to lead I'm reading Proverbs right now, and what is called a strange woman. That was called this, see, what is it called? I'm reading on Proverbs, and what do Proverbs call it? Immoral women. You know what I'm saying? This ain't the first time that he's dealt with that. This is something you can tell by the word, like I said in the King James Version, that this is something that he deals with, they've dealt with all the time. So that brings us to point number two. The number two thing, another result of sin, number two is this for tonight. Number two is this: disobedience. Disobedience is a direct result of sin. When you get into sin, it's easily for you to fall into disobedience. And it's disobedience to God, to your parents, or any authority figure, anything that's gonna keep you from doing the things that you want to do, you're gonna disobey. You're going to disobey. Because again, this is not, you look at it, he said that his father said, is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren? See, they know that, and again, y'all remember, we look back on it, his wife, his mom and dad, they were good people. They taught him what he needed to know. They taught him the ways of the Israelites. And he got to understand something too. Not only is this bad for any Israelite, he's a Nazarite. So the last thing he need to do is to go hook up with a pagan that worship idols and eat the meat of idols and things of that nature and defile himself, because one of the things that a Nazarite, he was dedicated to God. He wasn't supposed to defile himself. So it's double. It's worse it's bad for a regular Israelite, but it's really bad for him. But again, you can see this is something that his parents been dealing with him for a long time, because is there never a woman here? Why are you always chasing these immoral women? Why are you always chasing these immoral women? You know what I'm saying? Or if it's a man, why you always chasing these immoral guys? You see the girls, the promiscuous out here, and they going from guy to guy to guy. You know what I'm saying? 3, 4 kids and 3, 4 baby daddies. Why are you always falling into that? Because of disobedience, because of sin. That's what sin does. It'll put that disobedience in your heart, and it'll make it hard for you to do the things that you know you're supposed to do. But more important, it'll make it hard for you to stay away from things that you know you need to stay away from. You know what I'm saying? How many times do he have to go and get in trouble before he realized, hey, I need to leave these immoral women alone? You know what I'm saying? That was his problem. Now, had he been able to see how his story was going to end, which we can, I guarantee you he would have left them women alone. I guarantee you he would have messed with an Israelite woman. But he can't see it. You know what I'm saying? He can't see it, and he don't realize the effect that it's having on him and the people in this world. And that's why he know what his flesh wants. My flesh, I went and saw that girl, and boy, I mean, the way that dress was fitting her, whoo, I gotta have it. The way that sundress fit, I gotta have it. And he wanted it. You know what I'm saying? So he was being disobedient, because he knew as an Israelite man and as a Nazarite that if he was going to marry somebody, if he's going to be with somebody, it should have been an Israelite. They were not supposed to marry outside the Israelite nation, because all those other nations, they worship pagan people, which means, guess what? He would defile himself if he dealt with those kind of women. He knew that, but yet he wanted that woman anyway. Why? Because of sin. That's what sin does. Sin is going to make you disobedient. It's going to make you, because you got to understand, what is sin? What is sin? Sin is when you do something you know you're not supposed to be doing, or you don't do something you know you're supposed to be doing. So when you sin, you're doing what you want to do. And basically, you know what I always tell guys, you know what I'm saying? We got to get out of the mindset of good, bad, and right and wrong. You know, so I think that really kind of cripples us as far as our understanding of God's will for our life. With everything that we do, it's either one or two things. It's not really good, bad, right, or wrong. It's either you doing what you supposed to be doing, which is what God wants you to do, or you doing what you want to do, which is out of God's will. And that's what you got to understand. And that's what sin does. So if you're always doing what you want to do, then you're going to be disobedient because you're sinning. That's what sin does. It brings about disobedience to your life. So any authority figure in your life, you're not going to listen to them, because 9 times out of 10, they telling you not to do those things that you know you're supposed to be doing. Or they telling you you need to go and do those things that you're supposed to be doing, and you don't want to hear that. So his parents got on and said the way that the New Living Translation was like, they objected strenuously. They knew this was a bad idea. You know what I'm saying? Just like if your kid come to you like, hey man, I want to go try crack. You know that's a bad idea. Hey, I want to go try heroin with a man. You know that's a bad idea, and you're going to do everything you can to keep them from doing that thing. But ultimately, it's their decision. And if they don't have, and if they living in that life of sin, and they start going down that road of sin, 9 times out of 10, they still going to go that route anyway. And that's what happened here. So we see, like I said, by the wording, and that's why I wanted to read the King James Version, because of the wording of the King James Version, let you know this is not the first time this has been an issue. This has been an ongoing thing with Samson chasing these immoral women out here, chasing these women in the streets, and he know he's not supposed to be messing with them because he's a Nazarite and he don't supposed to defile himself. But yet he want to do it anyway because he's disobedient. And see, disobedience is a result of sin. So then the next verse, it says, he said, why, isn't there one woman in our tribe or among all the Israelites you could marry? Why must you go to the pagan Philistines to find a wife? Because again, if he mess with get a woman out of a Philistine woman, he hooks up with her, then he's going to defile himself, and he's not supposed to do that because he's a Nazarite. But watch what Samson said. But Samson told his father, get her from me because she's the one I want. So once again, he's giving into his wants, not into what he needs. He didn't say, she get her from me. I got to marry. God told me to marry this woman. She's the one I need to marry. He said, she's the one I want. See, so that's that lust in the play. He saw her, and whatever she had on, that sundress, whatever it was she had on, just looked so good to him that he felt that he had to have it, to where he was disobedient to God. He was disobedient. Lust got into him so deep that he was disobedient to God, disobedient to his parents. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, he was determined to do what he wanted to do instead of doing what he's supposed to do. So that's going to bring us to number 3. So his dad and his mom, they telling him, they giving him wisdom. Son, this is not a good idea. You do not need to go. You're a Nazarite. You do not need to go and mess with these Nazarite women, these pagan women. It's not going to work out good for you. But what did he say? But Samson told his father, get her from me because she's the one I want. So number 3, this is another result of sin. Number 3 is this, a lack of wisdom and discernment. He has no wisdom. He has no discernment. That's one of the things I pray. If y'all got kids, man, I pray y'all praying for y'all kids. But one of the things I pray for my kids for the most, and y'all might have heard me say it before, when I pray for my kids, I always pray that they have the wisdom to make the right decisions about what they spend their time doing and who they spend their time with. That's my main prayer that I pray for my kids. What they spend their time doing and who they spend their time with. Because what they spend their time doing and who they spend their time with is going to determine what path they're going to be on. If they get around, and we're going to see that from this story, they get around the wrong people, they're going to do the wrong things. You know what I'm saying? They get around the right people, they're going to do the right things. If they spend their time in the word, then they're going to end up have a close relationship with God. They're going to do the right thing. And they spend more time on Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat and all that. Most likely they're going to be involved in the world and they're going to do the wrong things. So you got to have wisdom and discernment to make it through this world. If you're going to be successful in this world and live a modern, because you're going to have problems regardless. But the worse decision you make, the more problems that you're going to have. Because even people, the Bible said the righteous fall 7 times, but he gets back up again because he have hope. It also says when you go through troubles, I'll be there with you in the midst. So you're going to have problems, but making bad decisions multiply your problems and make your problems that much worse. You know what I'm saying? And the way to avoid that is to have wisdom and discernment. And that's why, if you're not praying for I pray for me when I'm putting these lessons together. Lord, please, y'all heard me in prayer. Give me the wisdom to pull this wisdom out that you've given us. You know what I'm saying? I pray for discernment and I pray for wisdom because that's so important when you're dealing with this game of life, so to speak. It's probably the most important thing you have. But when you're sinning, you have a lack of wisdom and discernment because once again, the sin clouds your judgment. It clouds your mind. It don't help you see things clearly. It don't help you see. What road. See, right now, his mind. He's so stuck in this lust. He's lusting so bad after this woman, whoever she was, that he saw. Because they don't even mention her name. You know what I'm saying? But he's in such a deep lust after this woman. It's clouding his judgment. He's not seeing how this is going to affect him. He's not seeing what road that is putting him on and how this road is going to end, this journey is going to end, because he's starting a journey right here with this lusting of the eyes, seeking out this woman, but he don't have the wisdom to see, hey, man, maybe I shouldn't do this. My mom is against it. My dad is against it. They've been good people all my life. They've always had my best interest at heart. Maybe I shouldn't do this thing. Maybe I shouldn't do it. He don't have the wisdom to see that because he's only concerned with what he wants. He's not concerned with what he's not concerned with what he needs. He's not concerned because he's supposed to be a judge. I got to understand this. God chose him as a judge. He chose him as somebody that's supposed to be a leader that was going to lead the Israelites out of the oppression they was in. You know what I'm saying? So God had the high hopes for him and had a good work for him to do. But instead of him doing the work he's supposed to be doing, he out here chasing women. You know what I'm saying? And not only is he chasing women, it would have been mad enough he was chasing Israelite women, but he's chasing women that he's not supposed to be chasing. He's chasing these pagan women. You see what I'm saying? Why? Because he don't have wisdom. He don't have wisdom and discernment. And as we go through, we're going to see this dude is a dumb dude. He does not have wisdom because of sin. That's one of the results of sin. It takes away your rationale. It takes away because when you doing what God wants you to do, your spirit leads you. You know what I'm saying? We've all had that moment in our lives, and I know we've all done it where we were supposed to do so, we would get ready to do something, and some said don't do it. You know what I'm saying? And then something bad end up happening. You're like, man, I'm glad I didn't do that. Or on the other foot, I had this will happen way often than not. Something getting ready to do something, and some said don't do it, and I did it anyway, and then something bad happened. You know what I'm saying? And then I end up kicking myself like, man, I knew something told me not to do that. You know what I'm saying? And see, that's what happened when I gave it out to God. After God gave me the wisdom, started realizing, hey, that when that's something telling you don't do that or you should do that, that is wisdom. It's telling you, it's trying to tell you what you need to know to avoid some drama in your life or some chaos in your life or to avoid some troubles in your life. So I learned to start listening to it instead of ignoring that voice, start listening to that voice. But see, sin, it'll make you ignore that voice so much to where that voice don't even affect you anymore. It's not even loud as it used to be. You know what I'm saying? Like mine, I had got it quiet down. I had ignored it so much, but now it's a lot louder. So now when that little voice telling me to go here or go there or don't go here, go there, I've learned to listen to it. And 9 times out of 10, when I listen to that little voice, it always works out the best for me. And it always works out the best for those in my family and around me as well. But see, you won't have that wisdom to listen to that little voice if you're stuck in sin. And we see right here, he's stuck in sin. Lust of the eyes. He saw something in a sundress and it looked good to him. He has to have it. So he's so blinded by the sin that he's rejecting the wisdom. He don't have enough wisdom to listen to what his parents are telling him, like, son, this is a bad idea. They're telling him, you know what I'm saying? He's not seeing it, but they're telling him this is going to end bad. That's why I said, it said they objected strenuously. They knew that if he got involved with this woman, it was not going to end good. It's going to end bad. But he don't have the wisdom to see that. But see, because you got to understand what wisdom is, you know what I'm saying? Being smart is making a good decision, looking at a situation and, you know what I'm saying, or going through something and going through a problem and learning from that problem. But having wisdom is not even putting yourself through it because you looked at what happened to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Because you took the advice of somebody else. Somebody else told you to do it and you had enough wisdom to listen to it. That's what the Bible, like I say, you get in the Bible telling us all kind of things that we should do and shouldn't do, but we got to have the wisdom to listen to that. And most people don't want to listen to it, and that's why they keep on going down the path they own and keep on going through the problem they're going through. You know what I'm saying? That's what wisdom is. Wisdom is, you know what I'm saying? I look at, people might ask, why didn't you never try crack? Why did you never snort coke? Why did you never try crack? Because I saw my parents do it. You know what I'm saying? I saw how bad it ended for them, and I realized I didn't want to go down that path. So I knew that if I went down that path, then most likely the same thing that happened to them was going to happen to me. But see, there's some that don't have that wisdom, and they thinking they because they have that lack of wisdom, they think, oh, I can control it. They were just weak. I can control it. You know what I'm saying? I can control it. See, because they have a lack of wisdom. But see, wisdom is like, hey, I see what happened to them. They did that same thing I'm thinking about doing, and it turned out really bad for them, so I'm not going to do it. That's wisdom. But again, you won't have that wisdom when you're stuck on sin. Sin to convince you, you know what I'm saying, it'll make you arrogant enough to feel like, oh, that was just them. They was weak. I can do it and I get away with it. It ain't going to affect me that way. And it'll take you down that path, and the exact same thing that happened to them is going to happen to you. You know what I'm saying? But see, sin takes away that. So that's number 3. That's a third result of sin. You have a lack of wisdom and discernment. You don't know how to make the right decision. That's why I say that's what I pray for my kids every day. I pray for that for myself, and I pray that for my kids every day. Please, Lord, give them the wisdom to make the right decision about who they spend their time with and what they spend their time doing. That's one of the main things I pray for my kids. If I don't pray for nothing else, have a close relationship with you, forgive them if they done anything to get out of your will, but more importantly, please give them the wisdom to make the right decision about who they spend their time with and what they spend their time doing. Why? Because I know that's important. And we see, we're going to see just how important it is as we look at Samson, because he's not listening to wisdom. He don't have the discernment to be around the right people and listen to the wisdom that his parents got him, and watch. It's going to get him in a bad situation because he's out here chasing chasing a piece of booty that he's not supposed to have. It's going to start a whole series of events that's going to end really bad for him because he got that lust, that result of that sin of lust that got into his heart. So his father gets on him, so he sees this woman. What up, Bob? What up, nephew? Glad you're here, man. I hope you're doing good. That little baby, cute baby of yours, you take care of, man, and having you and your family doing good, brother. I appreciate you being here. So again, we see, we saw Samson. He saw, like I said, he saw a girl somewhere in the sundress. Now, they didn't wear sundresses back then, but I know they wear them now. And them sundresses will get you. I'm telling you, it'll make you lust. So he got, he saw this girl, and whatever she had would look good to him. He wanted it. And went and told his mother and father, hey, get me that girl. She's fine. I like the way her booty was jiggling on that dashiki. I want it. And, and her parents got on him and like, no, you don't need to do this, son. This is going to end bad for you. But he rejected that wisdom. And he told his dad, look, this is the one I want. So again, number 3, the result of sin, number 3 is a lack of wisdom and discernment. So then it said his father and his mother didn't realize the Lord was at work in this, creating an opportunity to disrupt the Philistines who ruled over Israel at the time. Now, as Samson and his parents were going down to Timnah, a young lion attacked Samson near the vineyards of Timnah. Now, you notice what they said there. There's an important line there. Now, what do we say? He's a Nazarite. So what is a Nazarite supposed to do? Can't drink wine, and they can't be around forbidden foods. What is grapes? What is wine made out of? Grapes. What are grapes? Grapes are made in what? A vineyard. Where was he at? He was near a vineyard. Why? Because he's out of the will of God. So number 4 is this. Another result of sin is this. It'll take you out of the will of God. It'll take you out of the will of God. Because again, what is it saying? Let's go back to just the chapter before, chapter 13, verses 14. Because you remember first, when the angel first came up, he said, he told her, the wife, he said, you must not drink wine or any other alcoholic drink or eat in a forbidden food. Now then, when you remember the husband, because she went with the husband, so the husband prayed for the angel to come back. And the second time, the angel got more specific. In verse 13, it says, the angel of the Lord replied, because remember, Manoah asked, what kind of rules should govern the boy's life? And the angel of the Lord replied, be sure your wife follows the instruction I gave her. She must not eat grapes or raisins, drink wine or any other alcoholic drink, or eat any forbidden food. And again, as a Nazarite, not only could he not have those things, he couldn't even touch those, he couldn't even be around them things. But now fast forward, what does it say? Again, this woman had all started with him lusting after this woman. He's on his way to go see this woman. And where's he at? Hanging out. It said a young lion attacked Samson near a vineyard of Timnah. He's not even supposed, because what's a vineyard? A vineyard is the place where they do what? Store grapes. That's where they grow grapes. So he's somewhere he's not supposed to be. And what happened? And because he's somewhere he's not supposed to be, what happened? He's out of the will of God. And because he's out of the will of God, what happened? He got attacked by a lion. See, that's the funny part about when people doing whatever they want to do, and then they don't wonder why their life is going the way it is. You can't do whatever you want to do, knowing you're doing stuff you're not supposed to be doing. You can't live your life, do whatever you want to do, and expect your life to go good. If you're living outside the will of God, what that does, it opens you up to attacks. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's funny. Where is he at? He's near a vineyard. So that shows you he's out of God's will, because he's not supposed to be near a vineyard. So that always shows you he's out of God's will. And what happened? He got attacked by a lion. Now, what does the Bible say in 1 Peter about the devil? He said the devil walks about as what? A roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. You see what I'm saying? Since Samson is out of the will of God, he opened himself up to the attacks from this lion. Had he not been over there near that vineyard, he never would have got attacked by that lion. You see what I'm saying? And that's what sin does. It takes you out. That's one of the most detrimental effects of sin, I believe. It takes you out of the will of God. Because again, what is sin? Sin is when you're doing something you know you're not supposed to be doing, or you're not doing something you know you're supposed to be doing. And most 9 times out of 10, those things that you're supposed to be doing that you're not doing are things for God. And those things that you're doing that you know you're not supposed to be doing are things that God told you not to do. So when you sin, it takes you out of the will of God. And when you do that, it opens you up for attack from the devil. You know what I'm saying? Y'all heard, now I know y'all heard me say this before. The safest place to be is in the will of God. You know what I'm saying? If you in God's will, then you exactly where you're supposed to be. That don't mean something won't happen. That don't mean something. I'm not saying that nothing's going to happen. I tell people all the time, because y'all know I do my soul when I mostly go to projects and trailer parks and stuff. That don't mean I can't be down there and get caught up in a shootout or something like that. It just means that if that did happen, I was exactly what I was supposed to do. It was going to happen anyway. There was nothing I can do to avoid that because I was in God's will, because I was out doing God's work. But if I'm out just hanging over in the project, smoking, drinking, and chasing women, and I get shot, then that's just me opening. I did that to myself because I opened myself up to those attacks because I wasn't doing something that I was doing something that the Lord told me I shouldn't be doing, and I was somewhere that I wasn't supposed to be. And that's what happened to him because he was out there near a vineyard, which is somewhere he wasn't supposed to be. What happened? He got attacked by a lion. And see, that's what sin does, and that's what people don't realize. When you sin, it takes that wall of protection. When you're doing what you're supposed to do, you walk in God's path and you in the will of God, you have a hedge of protection around you. You know what I'm saying? And that's proven because you read the book of Job. What did it say about Job? You know, when God was bragging on Job, he said, you see Job, he's my most faithful servant. He escheweth evil. He hates evil. You know, he don't hang around evil people. He always do what he's supposed to do. And you know what I'm saying? All he does is praise me and put his faith in me. And what did the devil say? Yeah, because you got that hedge of protection around him. I guarantee you, if you take that hedge of protection from around him, I guarantee you, you know what I'm saying, and touch him, let me touch him, I guarantee you he'll curse you to his face. See, that right there shows you because Job was a righteous man and he walked in God's path, the devil been trying to get at him, but he couldn't because he was always where he was supposed to be at, doing the things that he was supposed to do. He was always in the will of God. So the devil had to convince God to take down his wall of protection. Even though Job was still doing what he was supposed to do, the devil had to convince God to take down that wall of protection just so he'd be able to get at him. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I say is the devil walks about as a roaring lion seeking who he's watching you. He's waiting for you to slip up. He's waiting for you to go somewhere you're not supposed to go. He's waiting for you to do some things that you're not supposed to be doing. Because when you do that, that causes a chink in your armor. You know what I'm saying? When you're somewhere you're not supposed to be, you get out of that wall of protection that the Lord has have for you, and you open yourself up to attacks. So I don't think it's no coincidence that he was opened up to attacks because he was out there hanging around a vineyard, because there's somewhere he's not supposed to be. And that's what the result of sin do. That's what sin would do. It'll take you out of the will of God. So you got to remember, so that's number 4. And like I said, I think that's the most detrimental one. It takes you out of the will of God because you can't do God's will while you're sinning. God's will, there's no sin nowhere in God's will. You know what I'm saying? God is not going to have you go out there and do some stuff you're not supposed to do. That's going to hurt others or even hurt yourself or destroy your temple. That's not in the will of God. So if you're sinning, then you're out of God's will. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the most detrimental results of sin is it takes you out of the will of God. So again, number 4 is it would take you out of the fourth result of sin is it will take you out of the will of God. And that's what happened. Now, number 5 here, now this is not going to be the result of sin, but this is something you will see because of sin. Sin will show you this. When I looked at my sinful life that I lived, and then what God did to bring me out of that dirty mire where I was at and save my soul when I was on that path of destruction, I was able to see this because of my sin. So this is not a result of sin, but this is something you will see because of sin. And number 5 is this: our faithlessness. And I've actually done a lesson on this before. But number 5 is this: our faithlessness does not diminish God's faithfulness. You know, get that? I'm going to say that again because I got a little tongue tie. Our faithlessness does not diminish God's faithfulness. So what am I talking about here? So again, he was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be. He was over near a vineyard, got attacked by a lion, but watch what happened. God showed up. So it says he got Samson and his parents were going down to Timnah. A young lion attacked Samson near the vineyards of Timnah. At that moment, the Spirit of the Lord powerfully took control of him, and he ripped the lion's jaws apart with his bare hands. And he did it as easily as if it were a young goat. So see, even though he was doing some stuff he wasn't supposed to be doing, he was in a place he wasn't supposed to be at, the Lord was still with him. You see what I'm saying? Because the Lord will still give him another chance. Because he's doing some stuff he's not supposed to do, but he is doing some stuff he's supposed to as well. You know what I'm saying? Because he still got the hair. He hadn't cut his hair yet. It looked like he's down here by a vineyard, so he's probably defiled himself with the grapes kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So he's going trying to marry this pagan woman. So he's done some stuff he's not supposed to do, but he's also done some stuff he is supposed to do. So the Lord is still with him. So that's why I say our lack of faith, our faithfulness to God's plan for our life is not to diminish God's faithfulness to us. You know what I'm saying? That's why people like, that's why, I try to tell you, people think that you can lose your salvation and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? You can't lose your salvation because God is faithful. Just because we're not faithful to God. Now, you're going to have some stuff you're going to answer for. You might lose some rewards, but you can't lose your salvation, because once you make that commitment to the Lord and you accept Jesus Christ your Savior, then God is going to be faithful to you no matter what you do. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I got saved when I was 9, but from the age of, I ain't gonna say 9, I didn't really get bad, I guess I would say, till I was like 14, 15. But from 15 to 24, about span of 9 years, I did what I wanted to do. I went where I wanted to go. You know what I'm saying? But yet, when I was 24, the Lord still brought me back into the fold, because even though I wasn't being faithful to him, he was still faithful to me. And he showed me. It was so many times I could have died. I could end up in jail, bad. I was like, I got a friend of mine, I call her my little sister named Jessica Biggs, and she's on her Facebook. And sometimes we just laugh the fact that we're still here. Both of us are parents now. Both of us are good, godly people now. But we did and seen some crazy stuff back in our party days. And sometimes we just kind of, joke with each other like, man, I can't believe that we're still here kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? And that's what God showed me. Even when I was out there doing that craziness, he was with me, because anything could have went wrong with the stuff we were doing. And we were doing stuff that we could have ended up dead. You know what I'm saying? We could end up dead in the ground. Nobody knew where we was at, kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff we was doing. And yet we still here because God was with us the whole time. Even though we weren't being faithful to him, he was still faithful to us. And we see that here with Samson. You know what I'm saying? He's not being faithful because, again, he's on his way to go marry a pagan woman. You know what I'm saying? To go take this pagan woman for his wife. And on his way down there, he's hanging out by this vineyard. You know what I'm saying? Which opened himself up to attacks by the lion. Because, like I said, the devil walks about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. So, you know what I'm saying? So he was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing, but the Lord still didn't give up on him. The Lord is faithful and just to forgive us. So don't think our faithlessness is going to diminish God's faithfulness. That moment, whenever you come to your moment, you have your come to Jesus meeting or whatever, or just like the prodigal son, when you come to yourself and realize that you've been messing up and you need to go back, you need to get back to God, he will be sitting there waiting for you with open arms. You know, so that's one of my favorite part of that story. It said when he came to himself, he decided he was going to go back home. And I'm just, because this is not part of the lesson tonight, but he said he's going to decide to come back home, go back to his dad. Because he's like, well, I can be living better with my dad as a servant of my dad than I'm living now. And you notice it said what? It says when he was afar off, his dad ran to him. Why? Because his dad was still faithful. His dad was waiting for him to come on, just like God is with us. When we stray away, he's waiting for us to come back into the fold. And soon we take that step toward him, he's going to take 2, 3, 4 steps toward us. You know what I'm saying? Because he's faithful and just to forgive us. So don't think that your faithlessness, don't ever think that you can do enough to dirty yourself to where God don't want you. He always wants you. He might not be happy with you. I'm not saying that. He might not be pleased. You might not get to heaven and hear, well done, thou good and faithful servant. You might not get to hear those words, which I'm hoping to hear when I get up there. You might not get to hear those words, but that don't mean he's going to discard you as well. So even though Samson was somewhere he's not supposed to be at, doing something he's not supposed to be doing, the Lord still showed up and protected him. Why? Because our faithlessness does not diminish God's faithfulness. So that's number 5. That's not a result of sin, but you can see that because of sin. I didn't realize that until I saw the sin in my life and I saw how much God had brought me through because of the things that I was doing in my life and how he brought me back into the fold, even though I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. So again, number 5, our faithfulness does not diminish God's faithfulness. So he went out and it said that the moment the Spirit of the Lord took over him, so God was still with him. The Spirit of the Lord gave him this strength, and he did this mighty thing. He just took a lion and just ripped his jaw apart. And it said he did it easily as a young goat. So it was like it was nothing to him. So it said, but then then the next line it says, but he didn't tell his father or mother about it. He didn't tell his father or mother about it. Why? Because he knew if he told them what happened, he had to tell them where he was at. And if he had to tell them where he was at, he knew they were going to get on him because he was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be. So number 6 is this. This is something this is another result of sin. So this is, I guess, the 5th result of sin, even though it's number 6, is the 5th result of sin. This is something you got to understand about sin. It'll always lead to more sin. Because I'm pretty sure his folks asked him, where you was at? What you was doing? Oh, no, I wasn't nowhere. I definitely wasn't in no vineyard. You know what I'm saying? He had to go back and lie about where he was at. And that's what happened with sin. That's what sin. Sin always brings in more sin. Once you start sinning, it's a snowball. I tell my kids that it's a snowball effect. One sin is always going to lead to another sin. When you see people out here, one of the most common things that you see, and especially with marriage and stuff, you see people always cheat. You know what I'm saying? So not only are they cheating, which is one sin, they first of all, they lusted, which probably led to the cheating, and then they got a lot of cover up the cheating. You know what I'm saying? And in some situations, people end up getting killed. Again, go back to David. What happened with David? You know what I'm saying? David was technically cheating because he had several wives, but this girl that he hooked up with, Bathsheba, wasn't his wife at the time. You know what I'm saying? So what he did, he lusted. He brought her in, had sex with her, which was fornication and adultery because he was married and he wasn't married to her. And then he lied about it, and then he ended up killing her husband to cover it up. So one sin led to another. And of course, y'all know, I covered it. Well, no, I'm covering that with my kids. But you know what ended up happening to him on down the road? He had a whole lot of problems in the house because of that. That was another one that could have been a good story for results of sin, but I wanted to focus on Samson. You know what I'm saying? But all that happened. One sin always leads to another. You know what I'm saying? When you do some stuff you're supposed to, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna have to lie about it. You know what I'm saying? That's why a lot of folks, when they creeping and they cheating, they do it. You know, they either have to go to another town that they don't live in, especially they live in a small town like this. They have to go to another city, or they have to lie about it, or they do it at night so people can't see them. I remember back in my weed smoking days, you know what I'm saying? I never bought weed here in this city because I knew it was a small town, and if I bought weed, everybody gonna know. You know what I'm saying? And because my truck is so distinguishable, everybody know my truck around here. They know I drive a big black truck with the rims on it, even though I didn't want the rims on it. It just came on it like that. But I mean, my truck. So if they see me sitting outside the weed house, everybody gonna know I was smoking weed. So when I wanted to get my weed, I had to go over to Hickman County to where people didn't know me as much. You know what I'm saying? Don't know me. I know a few people over there, but not like everybody know me here. You know what I'm saying? Well, I would go down to Nashville. See, those were things that I had to do to go. Those were things I had to do to go and cover my sin. And see, that's what happens. Sin, once you start doing one sin is always going to lead to another sin. And again, this is going to come up again. One sin always leads to another. You know what I'm saying? Sin will never be like, oh man, you doing too much, bro. You need to back up. You know what I'm saying? You're already cheating. You don't need to be lying too. Sin will never do that. Sin will be like, oh man, you're already cheating. Let's go do this. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You like told David, you already cheated. You might well go and kill her husband, just take her. You see what I'm saying? Sin always leads to another sin. You know what I'm saying? So once you start sinning, that's why it's good if you're not sinning, you know, stay off that path. Because once you get on that path, it's a snowball effect. And it's just going to keep on growing and keep on growing and keep on growing. Because one sin will always lead to another. One of the results of sin is it'll always lead to more sin. So that's what he did. So he didn't tell his mom and dad about it because he knew he was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be at, doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing. No, because think about it. Anybody, man, you got to, man, no, that'll be like a testimony with me. Like, man, dude, I was out there. Now, if I was doing something I was supposed to be, somewhere I was at, man, I was at the zoo, my kids, and a lion jumped out and got ready to attack some baby or something, and I just went and grabbed the lion and ripped the jaw. Man, I'll be telling everybody about that. You want, man, you be like, man, I'm a man kind of thing. But he didn't tell nobody. Why? Because he knew it was something he wasn't supposed to be doing. Because that was a sin. You see what I'm saying? He knew it was something he was supposed to be doing, so he had to lie. Because I'm pretty sure his parents, you know what I'm saying, they were traveling. And he just, you know, wandered off somewhere, and then he come back a little while later, and pretty sure he was huffing and puffing, probably sweating, because he just got through fighting a lion. And I'm pretty sure his folks like, no, what's going on? No, I wouldn't, man, I'm just chilling. No, I just, took a nice stroll somewhere. It's just hot out here. That's why I'm sweating. You see what I'm saying? But he had to lie that cover up the thing that he did that he wasn't supposed to be doing. And that's what sin does. That's another result of sin. It'll always lead to more sin. And we're going to see that as we go back. So I'm not going to elaborate on too much because it's going to keep on coming up. We're going to see it as we go through here. So then in verse 7, so it said, he did it as easily as if it were a young goat, but he didn't tell his father or mother about it. So then the next verse says, so when Samson arrived in Timnah, so now he finally got there to the woman. So he talked with the woman, and was very pleased with her. You know what I'm saying? He was very pleased with her or about her. So number 7 is this. It'll make your wants a priority over God's needs. It'll make your wants a priority over God's needs. One is something I preach to y'all all the time. One of my favorite verses I like to quote to y'all is Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all the rest of these things shall be added unto you. You know what I'm saying? Make God your priority, and everything else you need in this world, everything else, even the things that you want in this world, God will give them to you. You know what I'm saying? Make God your priority, and he'll get those things to you. You cannot do that if you focused on sin, if you got a heart full of sin and you hurt sinning, because you're sinning because you're doing what you want to do instead of doing what you're supposed to do. See what I'm saying? That's what sin is. And see, that's what it does. It puts your priority. He didn't need to marry this woman. He wanted to marry this woman because she pleased him. You know what I'm saying? Even though his parents told him, look, son, you're a Nazarite. You're dedicated to God. You can't be with this woman. I don't care about what God. I didn't tell y'all to make me no Nazarite anyway. I didn't want to be there. That ain't my choice. You know, that were kids. Now, that was my choice. I should have a choice. I didn't choose that. I don't want to do that. I didn't choose that. Forget what God wants. I want this woman. You see what I'm saying? And that's what sin would do to you. It'll make your wants a priority over what your wants a priority over God needs. Because if you're gonna serve God, man, God needs somebody to be faithful. He needs somebody that's gonna be consistent. He needs somebody that's going to be an example out in this world. Not perfect, just be an example. You know what I'm saying? I told y'all before, y'all know I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect at all. I still lust. I still, you know what I'm saying, have a potty mouth. I still do stuff that I'm not supposed to do. That's what God don't want a perfect person, but he wants somebody that can be an example to others. You know what I'm saying? He wants somebody that's going to go out there and take his gospel to others. God, that's what God needs. That's how the word is spread. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, when David was going through his trial after he did what he did, you know what I'm saying? Lord, he's like, Lord, protect me. I can't praise you from the grave. You got everybody trying to kill me. Man, I know it's because of the sin I did, but I can't praise you from the grave. Lord, protect me. You know what I'm saying? Why? He was letting God know, Lord, you know, I messed up, but you know you need me. I'm still a servant of yours. I'm still going to get your word out. I just messed up. I slipped. You see what I'm saying? And that's what you got to understand. When you sin, it makes your wants a priority over God's need. You're not going to be that example that you need to be. You're not going to be that good soul winner that you need to be because you're too worried about watching, staying at home, watching the game and drinking with your boys on Saturdays and Sundays instead of getting up and going to church or going out and knocking on doors. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to be what you need to be if you continue to give into your sin and give into your flesh. And that's what sin does. It'll make your wants a priority over God's needs. I'm telling y'all something. I want to sleep in every Saturday. You know, so I want to just hang around the house. I have my grandkids this weekend. You know what I'm saying? We get them every other weekend, and we only have them for like Friday night and Saturday night, and basically after church Sunday, they're gone. You know what I'm saying? So I want to spend time with my grandkids. But guess what? I had to get out there and get that soul winning done. And I got in some time with my grandkids. Don't get me wrong. I got in some time with them. Matter of fact, my grandson was up crying all Saturday night. So I got plenty of time in with them because he was up, kept me up all night. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you know what I'm saying? I was like, man, I just want to hang here with them instead of going out and doing what I need to be, going out and sharing this gospel with people. Then there's some people that would have missed out. You know what I'm saying? So you got to understand that's what sin does. It'll make your wants a priority over God's needs. You know what I'm saying? Instead of you, God needs you to get into this word every day. But instead of you getting into this word every day, you want to be over there on Instagram and on binge watching something on Netflix or Hulu or something like that. You see what I'm saying? God needs you to be an example. Instead, you want to go out there and chase women and drink and do things that satisfy your flesh and yourself instead of doing what God needs. And that's what happens when you sin. When you sin and you give into your flesh, it takes, like I told you earlier, it takes you out of the will of God, and it makes the things that you want your priority. You want a big house. You want a big car. You want, you know what I'm saying? You want a nice car. You want a boat. You want all these material things. So instead of going to church on Sunday, you at work getting overtime. You don't even have to be there. You volunteered to go in. So you, instead of going to church to worship the Lord and be in a relationship with Him, you at the job trying to make money. You know what I'm saying? There's one, and I've told y'all before, when I go soul winning, that's one of the main excuses I get. Oh, I work all the time. You know what I'm saying? I work all the time. Yeah, you work all the time, but man, you got to have some time for God. You tell me you can't go to church at all. You tell me you working, you know what I'm saying? There's, like I said, like I always tell people, I said, man, our church got a Wednesday night service, a Sunday morning service, and a Sunday night service. You can't tell me you working, you just happen to be working. We can't make none of them. You see what I'm saying? But at the same time, a man, and some I've learned, a man and a woman will always do and make time for what they really want to do. You know what I'm saying? They'll make time. We'll make time to go to a football game. We'll make time to go to work. We'll make time to kick it with our grill. We'll make time to do all that, but we won't make time to get into our Bible. We won't make time to get into God's word. We won't make time to go out and go soul winning. We won't make time to go to church on Sundays. Why? Because we're giving into our sin, that lust. We want these things that's pleasant to us, because going to church ain't always fun. You know what I'm saying? It ain't always fun, but it's where you need to be if you're going to build a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Going out and knocking on doors, it ain't always fun. Sometimes it's downright scary. You never know what's going to be behind that door when that door open up. You never know what's going to be there. It could be a gun waiting. I haven't had that happen yet. No, knock on wood, thank God. But you never know, especially in the areas I be in. You never know what's going to be behind that door when that door open up. You know what I'm saying? So it's a scary thing, but that's what God need me to do, and that's why I do it. But when you give into sin, then you're going to do what you want to do instead of what God needs you to do. And that's what happened here. He said when he talked to that woman, it said when he arrived in Timnah, he talked with the woman and was very pleased with her. See, he was only worried about pleasing himself. He wasn't worried about the taking on the burden of being a judge of Israel. Man, you're supposed to be keeping yourself pure. You're supposed to be a Nazarite. You're supposed to be the one delivering Israel out of all this oppression they're going through, and you over here chasing booty. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what he was doing. He was over there chasing booty, some booty he wasn't even supposed to have, and keeping him from doing the work. He keeping him from being what God really needed him to be. God needed him to be a faithful, clean, which is why he wanted to be a Nazarite soldier, and he's out here being a whoremonger and a drunkard. You know what I'm saying? They don't say right out that he drank, but we're going to see here that I'm pretty sure some drinking involved in some of the stuff he was doing. So again, number 7, number 6 result of sin, it'll make your wants a priority over God's needs. So then in verse 8 it says, so later when he returned to Timnah for the wedding, so now he went down and talked to the girl, said she pleased him or whatever. It says, so later when he returned to Timnah for the wedding, he turned off the path to look at the carcass of the lion. So once again, what's he doing? He's out of the will of God. He's gotten off the path again. He was supposed to be on this path, on his way to go down to this girl, to see the girl about the wedding or whatever, to make arrangements for the wedding. And once again, he got turned off his path because there was sin due. It'll take you out of the will of God. It'll take you off the path that you're really supposed to be on. So it says, now he returned to Timnah for the wedding. He turned off the path to look at the carcass of the lion, and he found that a swarm of bees had made some honey in the carcass. He scooped some of the honey into his hands and ate it along the way. He also gave some to his father and his mother, and they ate it, but he didn't tell them he had taken it from the carcass of a lion. He didn't tell them he had taken from a carcass of a lion. Why didn't he tell them that he had taken from a carcass of a lion? Because once again, that was a sin. He was a Nazarite. What about if y'all paying attention when I first started talking about it? He wasn't supposed to touch anything that was dead. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't bring it up when it said he killed him, because I wanted to make it get here to make this point here. But he went, not only did he kill it, when he killed it, he defiled himself because he touched something that was dead or whatnot. But also he went back after he killed it, he went back to look at the carcass. The bees had made honey in it, and he started eating it. So guess what? If he took it out of the dead carcass, then guess what? That honey was defiled. That honey was defiled, and that's why he didn't turn his parents. So number 8 is this. This is another thing that sin would do. It defiles you in the eyes of God. It defiles you. It defiles you. That's what sin. That's why we have to be cleansed for our sin. That's why we have to be washed in the blood of Jesus for our sin. Because God cannot see sin. He cannot look at sin. He cannot accept you with sin on you. It defiles you. You know what I'm saying? That's what sin does. It defiles you. And if you want to know what's defiled, it's like, imagine that you had on some all white, and you know what I'm saying, and mess around with somebody, you went and you changed your oil in something that was all right. When you get under it, it's going to be filthy. It's going to be dirty. That's defiled. You know what I'm saying? That's filthy, that's dirty, that's defiled. And that's what sin does. It defiles you. It makes you filthy, and it just makes you dirty. That's why you notice what all the songs talking about the blood of Jesus, talking about washed in the blood, because that's how we're cleansed by the blood of Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And it makes you defiled. And to show you how bad it is, you got to understand something. It show you how bad that is, the sin is, that even Jesus experienced that. Even Jesus. If y'all wonder, you know what I'm saying, if you're familiar with the Bible, you know, of course, when Jesus was on the cross, he was on the cross. He was going through, the suffering of the cross. And he looked up, he said, my God, this is a famous line. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? What was he talking about? What was he saying? Because that was the first time in his life, in eternity, basically, that he couldn't feel the presence of God. Because once he became sin, once he got on that cross, he became sin, which means he was defiled. He defiled for us, and God couldn't even look at him. This was his own son. You know what I'm saying? This was the promised one. You know what I'm saying? The only one, the anointed one of Israel. You know what I'm saying? This was his own son, and God could not look at him because he had became sin. That's how far. That's what sin does. That's how far it pushes you away from God. Well, even Jesus himself had the experience that the absence of God in his life because he had defiled himself because he became sin. Now it was a part of the plan, but even with it being part, and that shows you again how bad it is. Even though it was part of the plan, still God like, yeah, I know that's what you came to do, but I can't look at it. You know what I'm saying? I just can't. It just I can't do it. God can't be around it. He can't have nothing to do with it. It defiles you, and that's what sin does. It defiles you. It stains your soul. It makes you unclean in the eyes of God. And again, this guy was a Nazarite. That's one of the main commandments was for him to stay clean. He was supposed to stay clean, and yet he just defiled himself because he went back and he scooped the honey out of his, he touched his carcass and scooped his honey out and started eating. And the thing is, not only did he defile himself, he also defiled his parents. And that's one of the other, there's a little side note I have here. It defiles you in the eyes of God, but you will also defile the others around you. You see what I'm saying? When sin lives in your heart, it bleeds out into the people around you. Especially like if you're a parent, you know, now he wasn't a parent, but especially like me as a parent, you know what I'm saying? If I do stuff I'm not supposed to, 9 times out of 10, my kids go do stuff they're not supposed to. Most of the time we see people that drink, most of them, 9 times out of 10, their parents drink, and they saw their parents drinking. You know what I'm saying? And all you see, you know, people like, hey, go grab me a beer out the fridge. You know what I'm saying? What do you think that's doing to a kid? You know what I'm saying? When you're having a kid bringing you a beer, you get home, the first thing you do have him bring you a beer. And most likely when he get older, he's going to be a drinker. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times we see people that smoke cigarettes, kids or young people that smoke cigarettes. They smoke cigarettes because their parents smoke cigarettes. I remember when I was working the drive-thru at Taco Bell, nothing used to make me madder than when people come through, first of all, smoking a cigarette, knowing the smoke was going to rise up in my face when they open it, close the windows down. But then they'd be smoking cigarettes and sitting there, a car full of kids. Like, they used to make me so mad when I saw that. You know what I'm saying? Most likely when those kids grow up, they going to smoke cigarettes. You see what I'm saying? Because you not only are you defiling yourself, you defiling everybody around you. And that's a perfect example. I ain't even talking about a perfect example of cigarettes. Because with cigarettes, not only are you smoking cigarettes, anybody within 6 or 7 feet of you, unless it's a really windy day, they're going to be defiled by those cigarettes as well. There ain't nothing I can stand when I walk out the door and somebody's standing right by the door smoking cigarettes and I walk through the cigarette smoke. Because I absolutely hate, anybody that know me to tell you, I hate cigarette smoke. I hate it. I honestly think it's probably one of the worst things that you can do with your life is, or do in life is smoke cigarettes. I think that's about one of the worst things you can do with your body. I absolutely hate cigarettes. You know what I'm saying? And I hate it because anybody who smokes cigarettes, like I said, if anybody around them, you might as well go ahead and smoke it too. You know what I'm saying? Because that smoke is going in your face, it's going in your lungs, and it's just as dangerous to you as it is to them. So when you defile yourself, you know what I'm saying, you 9 times out of 10 defile people around you. I remember back in my party days, I did the same thing. I never forget this to this day. This is another one of my terrible stories. I look back on it, it was a terrible thing. But back in the day, I thought it was so funny. Like I said, smoking weed. And I used to work at this place, everybody knows Sonic. I used to work at Sonic's in Bellevue. And the Sonic that we worked in is set up on like a hill, you know, and the only thing that was back there was Sonic. It was Sonic back there, and then right behind the Sonic was the Sam's Club. So we was the only thing up there. And Sam's Club closed before us. So once Sam's Club closed, you know, only traffic that came up that hill was to come to Sonic. And then once we closed, no traffic came up that hill. So what we would do, we had a bunch of us, all of us smoked weed. So after we closed down, cleaned the restaurant up, and cut all the lights off, we would sit out on the patio and smoke weed. That's what we did every night. So one time we had this young kid that was working there, good kid, smart, very smart kid. Tell he had good parents, raised right, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, and he would always kind of hang around for a little because he lived right across the street from the place. So he would hang around a little bit before he go home. So one night he was like, man, y'all always smoking weed. It looks so cool. Y'all have so much fun. You know, can I smoke with you? And you know what I'm saying? And at the time, again, I look back on now like, oh, that was horrible, probably the worst thing ever. But I'm like, oh man, it'd be fun just to see what, how he react and see what it'll do. You know what I'm saying? So we're like, here you go, smoke. And we encouraged him to do that. And of course, he got high, man. And the first time getting high, he ate the food and he went home. And honestly, I don't think he ever came back to work. I'm pretty sure his parents made him quit, because when I think back on it, I do not remember seeing that kid after that night. I do not. And he was a great worker too, but again, I've seen Defile him, and we thought it was the funniest thing ever because he was, so because this little kid got high. And you see people do it all the time. Like, if you see somebody on train, come on, man, it's my birthday, have a shot with me. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man, just puff it with me, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because I'm saying it and I'm trying to get you saying it. Honestly, that's what evil is. It's bad when you sin, but it's actually evil when you try to convince others to sin. And a lot of times that's what happens when you dabble in sin. You convince others to sin so you have like-minded people around you. That's what happened. And that's what I did. Like I said, I feel terrible about it. I told you I used to be a terrible guy. And I feel terrible about it. And to this day, I wonder what happened to that kid. I hope that he his parents made him quit and he got his stuff back together. He realized what a mistake he made and he ended up being a good kid. I do not know because I've lost contact. I haven't seen him since. You know what I'm saying? But that's what happens when you defile yourself. A lot of times when you defile because you dabble in sin, you're going to defile the others in your world. And that's what Samson did. That's why he told that he didn't tell his parents where that honey came from, because he knew how upset they would be, because not only did that mean he's defiled, he just made them be defiled too by getting them some. You see what happens? That's sin. Sin affects everything around you, affects everybody around you, and you got to understand that it don't just stick with you. You know what I'm saying? This world, especially these days, they have a way of making you just do what you, as long as it feel good to you, you're fine. It's not hurting nobody else. That's a lie. It is hurting other people. It's hurting everybody in your world. It affects everybody in your world, and don't fall for that lie. It does affect everybody around you and everybody in your world, and we see that here. So now he's defiled. You know what I'm saying? His soul is stained, and he's supposed to be a Nazarite, and yet his parents is as well. You see what I'm saying? So you see what happens with sin. That's one of the results of sin. So that's why it's so important to keep sin out of your life. Now, of course, we're going to do some stuff. We're going to slip up. But when you do deliberately, that's bad. And he's doing this stuff deliberately. He knows what he's supposed to be doing. Again, he's a Nazarite. So already, as a Nazarite, we only got halfway through the chapter, the first chapter of him as a young adult. And he's already going to marry somebody he's not supposed to be marrying. You know what I'm saying? He's been hooking up with girls. Obviously, you can tell from the way his parents worded it, that this has been an ongoing problem. He's been chasing women his whole life, which he's not supposed to do. It was in a vineyard when he got attacked by the lion, so he's around forbidden food, which he's not supposed to be. And then he just defiled himself. By eating his honey out of the carcass of this lion. So you see, he's hard-headed. You know what I'm saying? He lived a life full of sin, and that's what's going to lead him down the path that he's going down. So then the next verse is in verse 10, it says, so he did this. So as his father was making final arrangements for marriage, Samson threw a party at Timnah, as was the custom of the day. So once again, what do you got there? He threw a party. Now, I don't know about y'all. And again, I want to read the King James Version right there because of what they said, and it help you understand how I came up with this a little bit better. And King James says, so his father went down unto the woman, and Samson made there a feast, for so used the young man to do. So he threw a feast. And what is one of the main components of a feast? If you read your Bible enough, you know whenever they threw a feast, what they had? Food and what? Wine. And if he threw the feast, then he's the one that purchased the wine, so wine was there. And there's 9 times out of 10, he didn't just buy the wine for everybody else to have, and he didn't partake himself. And we're going to see as we go through the rest of this paragraph that he was most likely there drinking too. See what I'm saying? So again, we see all the sins just snowball. So again, it goes a reference back. It's several references in this statement. First of all, it will reference back to number 4. It'll take you out of the will of God. He's not there. If there's wine there, which I'm pretty certain was because he threw a feast, there was always wine at feast. So if there's wine there, he's out of the will of God because he's not supposed to be around grapes or any forbidden fruits or to partake himself, which I'm pretty sure he did. 6, it always leads to more sin. So he's sinning, when he started with his lust, it's just more sin just constantly piling on. So now he's drinking and partying. And it's, again, as a Nazarite, there's something he's not supposed to be doing. Disobedience to God. He knows he's not supposed to be doing these things, and yet he's doing them anyway. And then also he's defiled in the eyes of God. This drinking defiles him. Being around these people where he's at defiles him. So all these things happen from that one statement. He throwing a party in Timnah, as was the custom of the day. He's throwing a party. He's doing a whole lot of stuff he wasn't supposed to do. But also, it's number 9. And our number 9 point is this. It'll have you, I'm sorry. That was the reference. So then the next line is going to give our number 9 point. So he threw this party, and it says, 30 young men from the town were invited to be his companions. So he's throwing a party. He got wine flowing. And of course, we know he's not supposed to be doing that. Probably eating stuff. He's in Philistine, so he's probably eating meat that was offered to idols. So which he's not supposed to do. So he's defiled himself. But then also he invite these 30 guys from the town to be his companions. So number 9 is this. This is one of another detrimental result of sin. And this is another one I pray for my kids all the time. Number 9 is this. Another result of sin, number 8 result of sin is it'll have you accepting the wrong people and forsaking the right people. It'll have you accepting the wrong people and forsaking the right people. Who was the right ones in this situation? The Israelites. He was supposed to be around the Israelites. He's supposed to be marrying an Israelite woman. He's not supposed to be in this pagan land, but yet that's where he's at because of the lust of his eyes. So you see, he got the right people, he got the wrong people in his life, and he's accepted the wrong people in his life, but he's rejected the right people. And that's what sin would do. You know what I'm saying? It'll put you around the wrong people. It'll have you have the wrong people in your life, the people in your life that are there just so they can benefit off of you, and it's not there for your best interest. See, the Israelites would have had his best interest in his heart. An Israelite wife would have had his best interest at heart. But these people, they just care what they can get out of them. Oh, man, this dude throwing a party. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm pretty sure he had the wine flowing, the music going, and the wine flowing. You know what I'm saying? So they're like, man, let's go. So he just invited 30 random dudes to go down there, 30 dudes that don't know him from Adam, that's definitely not going to have his best interest in his heart, to go down there and party with him. See, why? Because he's sinning. And that's what sin does. It'll have the wrong people in your life. And that's one of the things, like I've been doing some drug counseling. I think I mentioned that before, drug counseling over in, at one of the Hope Centers they got here over in Camden. And when I was talking, I just got me a new person to counsel. I don't know what to call him. Got a new person to counsel here recently, and I was talking to him, and he's really been making some big strides, and he and I can tell he really want to make strides. And I told him, this is my first time counseling, and I told him, I said, man, my thing, what I'm going to try to teach you, what I'm going to try to drive you, the most important thing is being consistent. So I was like, you really want to do this thing, you really want to get away from this drug that is, handicapped you basically. I was like, you're going to have to be consistent. I said, and one of the main things you got to do, I said, you need to make your decision now. When you get out of here, who are you going to go and be around? Because that's going to be very important on determining whether you're going to be successful. Because when you're here in this treatment facility, it's easy to stay faithful because everybody here is kind of going through the same thing. Everybody got the same goals, same rules and regulations. I said, what really determines whether you're going to be successful or not is what you're going to do when you get out of here. I'm like, the main thing you're going to have to do, you're going to have to avoid is anybody that you know that will possibly get you back on these drugs. Anybody that you dealt with or you spent time with or you hung out with while you was on those drugs, those are the people you're going to have to avoid. I said, that's going to be the hardest part. And the same for us as Christians, man. You can't hang with the world, expect to walk with God and hang with the world. It's not going to happen. Now, I'm not saying you put yourself on a pedestal and look at yourself like you're better than anybody else. But the statement is made, and y'all know it, birds of a feather flock together. If you hang out with people that's always doing stuff they're not supposed to do, 9 times out of 10, you're going to end up doing something you're not supposed to do. That's the bottom line. When you hang out with people that are doing stuff they're not supposed to do, 9 times out of 10, you're going to do something you're not supposed to do. And when you hang out with people that do stuff they're supposed to do, 9 times out of 10, it's going to motivate you to do what you're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? So you got to watch who you hang around. If you hang around the wrong people, your life can go the wrong way. And I told y'all earlier, this is one of the main things I pray for my kids about. Get in the wisdom, to make the right decision on what they spend their time doing and who they spend their time with. You see what I'm saying? Give them the wisdom and discernment to make sure they make the right decision about what they spend their time doing and who they spend their time with. It is so vital, especially for our young people, older people. We don't have to worry about it as much because people start, when you get older, you don't have as many friends, you don't hang out as much because people start having families and responsibilities and things of that nature. It's not as bad. But when you're young, which is Samson is, he's a young man. Like I told you, he's probably between 20 and 24 right now. A young man, so easily influenced. So you hang out with the wrong people, it's easy for you to go down the wrong pathway. So that's one of the key things of being a Christian. One of the hardest parts of being a Christian is leaving people behind, people that you may have loved. Start realizing like, hey, these people are not good for me. Me being around these people are not good for me. And that's what I told my guy. I'm telling him, I was like, man, you got to understand, what I'm saying? I know he actually has a brother that's actually in the center with him as well. And I said, no, now, if your brother do good and get out and y'all can help each other, it's fine. I said, but if you see him backsliding, or you see, because he said his brother was always kind of more, his older brother always kind of more into it than he was really. So you know what that means? I said, you might get to a point, man, where you have to cut your brother off. Because they seem pretty close. They had a pretty messed up childhood and they kind of got to get each other through it. I said, but still, man, if you really want to stay away from this stuff, you might have to stay away from your brother. You might have to say, you got to make the right decisions about who you spend your time around and what you spend your time doing. And that's one of the main, first thing, we just had our first session this past Thursday. That's why I said that's one of the main things you have to focus on when you get out of here. Making sure you spend your time with the right people, doing the right things. Because if not, you're going to be right back in this place. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't even me judging. That's just facts. And the same goes for us. We got to make sure we have the right people around us. He was out here partying, drinking, and of course, like I said, the music going and the wine flowing. Yes, everybody going to be your friend. They don't mean they're going to have your best interests at heart. They're going to have their own interests at heart because they sinning just like you sinning. And what I said about sin, it puts your wants, make your wants priority. That's what sin do. It make you your wants priority. So of course they're going to come and be his companion because he got like I said, the music going and the wine flowing. But you got to be careful of that. You know what I'm saying? So that's a number 8th result of sin is it'll have you accepting the wrong people and forsaking the right ones. And we see that in our society. You see that in TV, you see that in movies. If you do anything, you know what I'm saying, you out there and you come out and I'm a man, but I think I'm a woman, and you can win Woman of the Year. They have you praising that guy for doing that. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you know what I'm saying? If you do anything sinful, you get praised and you get, you know what I'm saying, you get ahead in this world. But you get out there and start talking about the word of God and preaching against those things because the word of God said, man, that'll shut you down. And that's what the word has done. The world accepts the wrong type of people. That's why we got our kids looking up to these celebrities and superstars and these rappers and want to be like them instead of what they should be doing. We should be encouraging them looking at the preachers, the ones that's doing what they're supposed to do. Not all preachers are good preachers and not all rappers are bad rappers. I'm not saying that. I'm not making a generalization. But a majority of the ones is, you know what I'm saying? There's not somebody, Pooh Shiesty is not somebody I would want for my kids to have as a role model. You know what I'm saying? Because he's the stuff that he talks about, I don't know him personally, but the stuff he's talking about is terrible. It's horrible. And it's definitely going to lead them down the wrong path. You know what I'm saying? But our kids really accept that. But let me give them some Christian rappers, tell them listen to that. They won't even listen to the Christian rapper. I got a Christian rapper I listen to, Bizzle. He's become my favorite rapper of all time. I mean, wonderful music, good stuff. You know what I'm saying? I listen to it just about every day. You know what I'm saying? I would love them to listen to that. They ain't going to listen to that, but they'll listen to Pooh Shiesty or The Baby or one of those dudes. That's all they talking about is killing people and selling drugs and having sex with women. You see what I'm saying? Because that's where we at. Because we live, our society has become a sinful nation. We've become a godless nation and we live in sin. We thrive on sin. So we're always willing to accept the bad stuff and we reject the good. Again, if you get out there talking negative and talking bad, man, you can sell 1 million records. But you get out there talking about God, and if you're really good, you might sell 100,000, 200,000 like that, but you're not going platinum. They're not going to have you on the radio every time the radio turn on because that's where we at in our life. We live in a sinful society, and we always wouldn't accept the wrong and forsake the good. And that's exactly what Samson is doing here. He left his Israelite brothers and sisters that's worshiping God, the same God that he worshiped, and now he's over here with these pagans. And watch what's going to happen. And I'm going to show you that. Now this next verse is going to show you that I believe he was drinking. Because watch what happened. So he invited these 30 young men from the town were invited to be his companion. And Samson said to them, let me tell you a riddle. If you solve my riddle during these 7 days of the celebration, I will give you 30 plain linen robes and 30 fancy robes. But if you can't solve it, then you must give me 30 linen robes and 30 fancy robes. So what does it sound like? What does that sound like to you? That sounds like somebody drunk. It sounds like he's drunk. He got full of liquor. You got to think about it. He just whooped beat up a lion the day before, ripped his jaws apart like it was a baby sheep. You know what I'm saying? He got some liquor in him. He's talking smack. You know what I'm saying? Him and the guys probably sitting around talking smack, and he's starting to feel himself. So what happened? You know what I'm saying? So to me, when I read that, I just get the feeling he's drinking. Because again, he's at a party that he's thrown. He's at a feast. There's wine there. He's drinking. He's drunk. And what has happened? His pride has swelled up. So number 10, another result of sin is pride. Pride comes before destruction. If you read the Bible, pride is probably one of the worst sins there is. That's what the devil, that's what got the devil. That's what made Lucifer. Pride. Because at one point he was the strong, right? It was the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and then Lucifer. That's who he was. That's how high up he was. He was one of the most powerful beings outside of God himself. He was the most powerful angel that was. And because of that, what happened? He was prideful. And you know what I'm saying? He show you that he ended up developing this eye problem. And I'm going to flip over real quick. You ain't got to flip there with me. I'm going to read it to you. But if you read over in Isaiah chapter 14, verses 13 through 15, watch what, this is what got Lucy in trouble. He said, for thine has said, I'm going to read the King James Version. He said, for thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. He said, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, and I will be like the Most High. Yet, and then God said, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. See, he had a high problem, because what happened? He got prideful. And that's the result. That's the ninth result of sin. Pride. Pride comes into your heart when you sin it. And that's what Samson got going on. He's been sinning. He's chasing booty. He saw some girl walking around with a sundress on, and probably her booty was jiggling everywhere, and he had to have it. So he's chasing her. You know what I'm saying? He's then killed this lion. He's eating honey out the lion. He's defiled himself. He's throwing a party right now. He's drunk. You know what I'm saying? Now his pride is swelling up because he know he had the Spirit of God on him. He think he's something special because he just killed his lion by just ripping his lion's jaws apart. So his pride is swelling up. And that's why I say, you see the challenge that he gives her, it sounds like something. I've been drunk before, you know what I'm saying, around a group of guys, and this sounds like something that a drunk group of guys would do. You know what I'm saying? Get drunk, start talking smack, and then come up with this little riddle that he's going to give them. So his pride, we see, again, he's really, and if you understand, like I said, everybody looks at Samson as a hero, but when you really look into his life, he was a terrible dude. He was a terrible dude, and he did a whole lot of stuff that he wasn't supposed to do. And now his pride is seeped in there, and it's going to make him give this silly challenge, which is going to put him in a bad position. So number 10 result of sin is pride. And like I said, that's one of the worst sins there is pride, because that's what happened to Lucifer. That's why Lucifer got kicked out of heaven, because he was the most powerful angel, and he felt that he should be God himself. That's what happened. He felt that he should be God himself. That's why he said, I would exalt my throne above the Most High. He felt he should be God himself because of his pride. And we see Samson's pride start to swell up a little bit because he's sitting there and he's on that drink. He's drinking and doing stuff he's not supposed to do. Again, the power of God came over him a few days before. He ripped jaws of the lions apart. So he felt there was no way these guys is going to be able to, there's no way these guys going to be able to guess this riddle. I'm going to give them a riddle. You know what I'm saying? They all drunk. And you know what I'm saying? There ain't no way in the world they're going to be able to guess this riddle. So guys, watch what happens. What up, Austin? Man, we is doing good, man. No problem, man. I love you and your wife, man. I'm hoping y'all are still doing good. I'm glad y'all are still getting along and everything, man. Y'all need to holler at me. If that spring about to come up, we got a grill, and I know y'all got that pool. I'm gonna have to come over there and invade y'all house. But I'm glad y'all doing good. I appreciate you being here. So again, we see his pride swelling up, so he get these guys a challenge. And y'all probably heard this before. He get these guys a challenge. Again, when you see this, you're going to see this is something that drunk people do. That's why I say I know he was drinking at this point, because this is something drunk people do. So his pride is swelled up. He's like, I'm going to get him a challenge, and I'm finna come up off these fools. I'm finna get rich, because that's what he think. He's thinking there's no way they're going to figure this out. because it's the real. He's gonna get them. There's no way they're gonna figure this out. So he's thinking of a come up. I'm finna come up off these fools because he's so prideful at this point. His pride is swelled up at this point. He think he's gonna get them. So watch what happens. So he says, so what I'm saying, they all drunk, and of course these men, you tell they drunk too for them to even agree to something like this, because to get these 30 linen robes and 30 fancy robes, that's a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Which Samson probably don't have, and they probably don't have either. So, as a matter of fact, we're going to see that they didn't have it. So he tell them, I'm going to give y'all a riddle, and y'all got to solve this riddle. So they said, all right, they agreed. Let us hear your riddle. So he said, from the one who eats came something to eat. Out of the strong came something sweet. And of course, you know what I'm saying, you hear that, if you didn't know the story, you're like, man, what the heck is he talking about? You know what I'm saying? What is he even talking about? So then it says 3 days later, they were still trying to figure it out. So he had them. He actually had them on the ropes. But then it said what? What it says, so on the 4th day, they said to Samson's wife, get the answer to your riddle from your husband, or we will burn down your father's house with you in it. Did you invite us here to this party just to make us poor? So you see, they didn't really, even though they accepted the challenge, they didn't really have the money to cover if they had lost. So again, that shows you there's some drunk people stuff there. There's some drunk or some high people stuff. They knew they didn't have the money to cover it, but everybody was probably, like I said, all looking up, talking smack. So like, man, what's up? What's your riddle? And they would think it was 30 of them. So like, for sure, we can get this figured out between the 30 of us. Again, some drunk people stuff, but they didn't really have the money to do it. So that's why they went to the wife after the 4th day and was like, hey, what you trying to make us broke? You trying to make us poor? You know what I'm saying? Because that was a lot of money. And again, their pride was at play and the alcohol was at play, the same with Samson. So they went to Samson's wife. So in verse 16 it said, so Samson's wife came to him in tears and said, you don't love me. You know how y'all women do. Y'all can get us. Y'all know how to catch us. I can see it now. You don't love me. You hate me. You have given my people a riddle, but you haven't even told me the answer yet. Came in there, they're whining, batting them eyes kind of thing. And you see, Samson don't really trust her. So why is he around her? He don't really even trust her because he haven't even told her. If he really trusted her off top, he would have told her the answer. But see, she said, you don't love me. You hate me. You haven't even told me. And he said, man, I haven't even told the answer to my father or my mother. He replied, so why should I tell you? So what did she do? Y'all know that the batting the eyes didn't work. That didn't work. Come to him that way didn't work. So what y'all do? Y'all turn on them feminine wiles. So he says, so she cried whenever she was with him and kept it up for the rest of the celebration. At last, on the 7th day, he told her the answer because of her persistent nagging. And then what? She gave the answers to the young man. Could you imagine that? This is your wedding day. You're supposed to be happy and your wife is crying the entire time? Of course you're gonna cave in. You can't have that. This is supposed to be a happy occasion, and all she's doing is crying the whole time. He probably couldn't even get him to consummate the marriage because she wasn't even in the mood because she was crying the whole time. You see what I'm saying? So she knew exactly what to do to get him to where she wanted him to be at. But again, this wouldn't have happened. He's the right person. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. So she cried the whole time. Think about it, 3 days straight she cried. So he finally told her the answer because of the nagging. So then it says, so before sunset of the 7th day, the men of the town came to Samson with their answer. What is sweeter than honey and what is stronger than a lion? See, he gave them their riddle from where he killed the lion and then ate the honey out of the lion. There was no way in the world they could have figured it out. You know what I'm saying? There was no way. So again, his pride, like, oh, it ain't no, I got these foods. I'm finna come up off these foods. Because he knew it wasn't no way they were going to be able to figure that out. But what they do? They went to his weak point. They went to his wife. So it says, what is sweeter than honey and what is stronger than a lion? So then Samson replied, if you hadn't plowed with my heifer, you wouldn't have found the answer to my riddle. And see, that's exactly what I was talking about in number 9. What was number 9? Number 9 is it would have you accepting the wrong people and forsaking the right ones. See, if he was with the right woman, she would have never gave it up. If his wife was really down with him, if that was an Israelite woman that had his best interest at heart, she never would have gave his answer up like that. She wouldn't have betrayed him like that. You know what I'm saying? But he went to these pagan people. She didn't have no loyalty to him because understand, in the nation of Israel, he was a legend. Everybody knew that God had chosen him as a judge because I'm pretty sure his mom and dad had told them about how the angel of the Lord himself came and appeared to them and told them they were going to have a baby and the baby they was going to have was going to rescue Israel from the oppression. So she would have never did him like that. But see, that's what happened. That's what sin to do. Sin to make you bring the wrong people in your life. You know what I'm saying? Sin to have you had the wrong people in your life and make you reject the right people. And that's what happened here. He had the wrong woman by his side. Had he had the right woman by his side, this situation wouldn't have came up. But because he was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be at, doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing, which is sin, that's what happened to him. He got the wrong woman, and she didn't really have his back. She was more occurred about protecting her own butt than protecting her husband's best interest. And what she do? She snitched on him. She came to him and bribed him, was able to work the answers to the riddle out of him and went back and gave it to some other dude. You see what I'm saying? That's what happens with sin. So number 9, that's a reference back to number 9. Sin will do that for you. It'll have you accepting the wrong people in your life, and it'll have you forsaking the right people. You know what I'm saying? You had the wrong people around you. I'm telling you, I told y'all before, I got a million friends. I got so many people that I used to hang out with all the time. I don't hang out with them no more. I'm not even invited. You know why? Because they still doing the same stuff we used to do, drinking and smoking and partying and all that. I don't do that no more. So they don't invite me. And I'm not, anybody that know me know, yes, everybody knows I'm always trying to serve the Lord, don't get me wrong. But when I go to hang out, I'm going to hang out. I'm not going out to preach or whatever. Now, if a situation come up, somebody asks me, of course, I already got tracks in my pocket. I'm ready for it. Don't get me wrong, but I don't go, bragging somebody's house like, oh, you sinner, you should be drinking all that. Man, you drinking, have you some drinks. You know what I mean? When I go hang out, man, I just want to smoke because I want to hang out with people that I know anyway, from back in the day. So I'm just trying to, laugh and joke, talk about the silly stuff we used to do. That's what I do when I hang out. I'm not out there trying to preach, but people know what I'm about. They know I don't drink anymore. They know I don't smoke no more. So if they want to drink and smoke and be able to do it freely, they don't want me around. You see what I'm saying? Because they know, even though I'm not going to say nothing to them about it, that guilt, that natural guilt they're going to have because they know, man, we over here smoking and drinking and this dude don't do this because he a man of God. We shouldn't do it. They're not going to feel comfortable doing. So instead of them just being uncomfortable with their own stuff, they just don't invite me anymore. Why? Because that's what sin would do. It'll have you accepting the wrong people. Now, anybody that's going to smoke and drink and snort coke with them, they'll have them over there. But if somebody me that might bring the word of God to them, they're not gonna invite me because that was sin do. So that's a reference back to number 9. It'll have you accepting the wrong people and forsaking the right ones. You see what I'm saying? So that's what happened here. And because he got with this woman, and because he was so sinful, he went and got with this pagan woman instead of giving the Israelite woman. That's what happened to him. So then what happened? Again, it said, then the Spirit of the Lord powerfully took control of him. So that's a reference back to number 5. And again, our faithlessness does not diminish God's faithfulness. So even though he's here, again, he's with this woman he's not supposed to be with. He's drinking and he's not supposed to be drinking. He's defiled himself because he killed a lion and ate honey out of the lion. He's throwing a party. His pride is swelled up. Even though he's done all that stuff, God still, when he needed God still showed up with him. You see what I'm saying? That's what I tell you. God said, I will not leave you or forsake you. God is always there. He's always faithful. Even when we're not faithful to him, even when we turn our backs on him, even when we go down that wrong path of doing the thing we're not supposed to be doing, he will still be there when we're ready for him. So Samson in this situation, well, now he need a miracle. He need a miracle because he don't have the money for that. His pride and his drunkenness got him in this situation. But guess what? It says, the Spirit of the Lord powerfully took control of him. But watch what happened. So it says, so he went down to the town of Ashkelon, killed 30 men, took their belongings, and gave their clothing to the men who had answered the riddle. So what happened again? Let's go back to number 6. Sin, what does sin do? Number 6 said, it always leads to more sin. So now he started off with just, defiling himself, which was bad, and chasing a woman that, chasing booty he wasn't supposed to have, which was bad enough. But now he's a murderer and a robber. Why? Because that's what sin does. It just constantly builds. Once you start down that path, you're going to keep on going down that path. That's why it is. That's why they call weed a gateway drug. Because it 9 times out of 10, it leads to other things. You get to a point. Now, me, I just like smoking weed. I was fine at the weed level. Yes, I've tried other stuff. I did try ecstasy. I did try mushrooms. I did smoke a couple of heavies. I did that stuff. But I tried it, but it's just wasn't my forte. Weed was enough for me. But a lot of people don't have that strength, and they start on weed, and next thing you know, they're on pills, and next thing you know, they're on meth, and next thing you know, they're on, you know what I'm saying, whatever else, heroin, all kind of stuff. It leads to other things, because that's what sin does. Sin always leads, even if it's just start off a little sin, it always leads to a bigger sin. And the more sin, the more you do it, the bigger the sins get. And that's what happens. So he started off, like I said, just a whoremonger, basically chasing women and drinking and defiling himself. Now he's a murderer and a robber. You know what I'm saying? And you got to understand, if he killed those men and took those clothes, then guess what he had to do? He had to touch more dead bodies, so he defiled himself even more. You know what I'm saying? So it takes us, again, number 6, it always leads to more sin. Number 8, it defiles you in the eyes of God. He's defiled even more because of what he did. But also it's going to be our point number 11. Number 11 is this, and we got one more and then I'll be done because I'm almost at 2 hours. And I tried not to take so much, but it's so much here. So again, number 11 is this. The 10th result of sin is it negatively affects everyone, not just you. And I said that, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but you got to understand that when you sin and you do stuff you're not supposed to do, you're not going to be the only one affected. It's going to affect everybody, right? It's going to even affect the people these people, these people weren't even in the town he was in. It ain't like he had some beef with these dudes. These dudes was in another town minding their own business, but because he got drunk and his pride swelled up and he made this foolish bet that he had to then go and cough up the money to do it, he had to go and kill and rob and murder 30 people that had nothing to do with him. They had nothing to do with the situation he was in. You see what I'm saying? And that's what sin does. It negatively affects everyone. Everybody, if everybody just did what they supposed to do, you know what I'm saying, got in the word and followed the word and did what they supposed to do, man, this world will be a wonderful place. The reason why this world is not the wonderful place, the utopia that God meant for it to be, is because nobody's doing what they're supposed to do. Even Christians, people that call themselves Christians, is not doing what they're supposed to do. I rarely come across anybody else or any other churches that go out and knock on doors and tell people about the Lord. I come across a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses that do it. You know what I'm saying? But you rarely come across another Christian or another church that actually goes out and knock on doors and tell people the gospel. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. You see what I'm saying? So sin affects everyone of mine. These guys had nothing to do with his situation. But yet 30 people had to lose their lives. So this man, because of his pride and because of his sin. So you see, that's one of the main results of sin. It affects everybody in your world. It affects everybody in your world, but it really ultimately affects everybody in the world. Think about what did Adam do? Adam sinned, and we've been having to pay the penalty of sin because of that. It affected everybody, but there's one man's sin affected everybody that ever lived. You see what I'm saying? So that's why don't let this world fool you into, oh man, just do you. If it feel good to you, you ain't hurt nobody. You are hurting somebody when you're doing stuff you're not supposed to be doing. You are hurting somebody. You're hurting everybody when you're out here doing stuff you're not supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? You might not hurt them directly, but you hurt them indirectly because of the life you live. But here in this situation, these people got hurt directly because he went out and killed and murdered 30 people that had nothing to do with this situation because of his sin, because he was out there drinking and chasing women and throwing parties and doing stuff he wasn't supposed to do and got himself in his pride got him in a bad situation, and he had to go and take these 30 million lives to pay for his situation. Not to mention defiling himself even farther in the process. So you got to realize that violence, all the violence we see in this world, all the chaos we see in this world, all the drama we see in this world, all this stuff comes from sin. Those are all results of sin. You know what I'm saying? The stuff that's going over in the Ukraine right now, that's a result of sin. You got somebody out there greedy, a man that's greedy and want more power and money for himself. So he's just going to take it and killing it and destroying whatever he got to do to get it. That's sin. That's all that results of sin. So don't let this world fool you to thinking that, oh, it only affects you. Do you? It's only going to affect you. No, it affects everybody. It affects everybody in your world. It affects the people in your world directly, but it affects the world indirectly. And never forget that. And that's what happened here. Samson was sinning, got himself in a bad situation, and 30 men had to lose their lives because of it. But you notice so far, Samson is not the one suffering from his sin. And so it goes back to what I was saying in the intro. A lot of times we do what we do because we don't realize how to affect the others in this world. So far, Samson hasn't been affected, but everybody around him, and even people that's not directly around him, has been affected by sin, and that's why he's going to keep going. So, you know what I'm saying? So it says, He went down to the town of Ashkelon. He killed 30 men, took their belongings, and gave their clothing to the men who had answered this riddle. So again, the sin just compiling. So just like I said, it always leads to more sin. So it started off just him lusting of the eyes, and now he's a murderer. You know, he's defiled, he's drank, so he's defiled, you know what I'm saying, he's a murderer, and he's a robber, all because it just started with him just looking at some girl in a sundress that he wasn't supposed to look at. So you see, it compiles, and it just can continue to get worse and worse as time goes on. So the next verse said, but he said, so he went and robbed the men, took their clothes, and gave it to the men who answered the riddle. It said, but Samson was furious about what had happened, and he went back home to live with his father and his mother. And that's going to be number 12. And my last point is this. If you, this is going to be, I guess, the 11th result of sin is it makes you regress instead of progress. You know what I'm saying? You think that you're winning because you're out there making this money. You living this life, you're selling these drugs or doing whatever illegal thing that you're doing, and you got the money because you're doing it, and you think you're coming up because of it, but you're not. You got to realize, I got a slogan right here. You're not winning when you're sinning. You're not winning as long as you're sinning. It's not going to you're not winning. You know what I'm saying? It might feel like you're winning, but something I told my boys. You know, this is something I got on my boys about because they had some bright ideas that they were going to go out and do some stuff that I had, you know, told them they shouldn't be doing, kind of thing, thinking they were going to come up. And I told them, I was like, look, in the beginning, it's going to feel good. It's going to feel like you're making a come up, and it's going to feel like that this is really the answer to your prayers kind of thing. This is really the key to getting ahead. I said, but I'm going to tell you something about the game. The game is always going to give you. It's going to give. I said, I won't deny that. It will give you. It will give you the pleasure you want. It will give you the money you want. It will give you the attention you want. I said, but this is something you got to understand about the end of the game. When the game is over, it always takes way more than the game. Always. You never get ahead. You never get out the game ahead. And you look at all the big drug dealers and all that stuff, they all died miserably. A lot of them died miserably. You know what I'm saying? Because it always takes, a lot of them live the life, 10, 15 years, then spend the rest of their life in prison. You know what I'm saying? Things of that nature. When the game is over, it always takes, you never come out ahead. That's why I say you're not winning when you're out here sinning. It's not winning. It might feel like, I said, it might feel like it because the beginning is going to be sweet. The money you want, you're going to have it. I experienced it. The money I want, I had it. The girls I want, I had it. The attention I want, I had it. The notoriety I wanted, I had it. I had that stuff. But at the end, I almost lost my life because of it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you got to realize. And see, that's what Samson not seeing, because he wanted this girl that he wasn't supposed to have. He's going to end up at the end of it. At the end of it, he's going to end up losing his life because he wanted something that he wasn't supposed to have, and he was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be doing things that he wasn't supposed to be doing. So I don't know. My little thing I guess it's telling me time's about up. Don't want to stick no more. But that's the number 12. It makes you regress instead of progressing. A lot of people think they're getting ahead because, I'm going to just, and they had this idea, I'm just going to sell it for a little while, get ahead, and then I'm going to stop. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to do it for a little bit, just enough to get ahead, and I'm going to stop. And it don't work like that. That moment you think you're going to stop, either you're going to keep on going until you're stopped by God himself, whether something bad happened or you end up dead or in jail, you know what I'm saying? Or the moment you think you're going to finally stop and be done with, I got enough, I'm going to stop. That's when, bam, the trap snaps on you and you end up, like I said, dead or in jail or something. It never works out. When you play the game, and when you do stuff you're not supposed to do, you never get ahead. Because even if you manage to somehow get ahead in this world and then do avoid jail and death, to you end up living to be an old man and avoiding jail the whole time. Even if you do and you die surrounded by your family, guess what? When you go through that door called death, guess what? You still got to deal with God. You still got to deal with God. And if you didn't get saved before, this whole time, then guess what? You're going to hell. So how is that a win? You never win. You always lose. As long as you're sinning, you're not winning. And you got to understand that. You know what I'm saying? And you're regressing because it said what happened. But Samson was furious about what had happened, so he went back home to live with his father and mother. See, he already had a place set up. You know what I'm saying? He was about to get married. So he probably went on and got his own place set up. He thinking he about to bring his wife home. You know what I'm saying? He went and got him a place, rent him an apartment. I know they didn't have apartments back then, but rent him an apartment, had him a place set up. You know what I'm saying? He had things going his way, but because he was sinning, what happened? He lost all that. He ended up having to go back and stay with his parents. See, he regressed. He didn't progress. He didn't put himself in a better situation because of the sin. He ended up putting himself in a worse situation, and it actually took away all the work he had done and the progress that he had made. He had lost because of sin. So you got to understand that as long as you're out here sinning, you're not winning. You know what I'm saying? It makes you regress instead of progress. And then just the last line to finish, because I'm way past my time. It says, so his wife, and again, I'm going to refer back to number 9, says the last line, so his wife, now he did all this, killed these 30 men, threw all this party, defiled himself, did all this stuff to get this woman, and then watch what ended up happening to this woman. So his wife was given in marriage to get this. His wife was given in marriage to the man who had been his best man at the wedding. You see what I'm saying? So that goes right back to number 9. Having the wrong people around you. If the sin would have you accepting the wrong people and forsaking the right ones. So not only does the dude he hired to be his best man, this fake friend he hired to be his best man, married his wife. And his wife betrayed him because she gave the answer to this riddle to these guys. See what I'm saying? That's what sin will do. When you sin, you invite that negativity in your life. You invite the wrong people into your world. And you notice that, like I told you earlier when I first went over that point, I told you that was very important, especially if you're going to be a Christian and walk in the Christian ways, because this is the 3rd time in this one chapter that same point was referenced to. Well, the original time when I brought it up, and then it was referenced to twice through this chapter. We saw how twice and through this little story here in just this one chapter 14 that he got in trouble. He was in the trouble he was in and going through what he was going through because he had the wrong people around him. He put his faith and trust in the wrong people. And that's what sin would do. It'll have you put your faith and trust in the wrong people, and it'll have the wrong people around you. So again, that's the results of sin. Like I told y'all, we getting into the meat. I really wanted to keep this to an hour and a half so people watch these videos. But man, like y'all see, it was just too much in there. And this is just one chapter. And like I said, because I wanted to spend time going through, and that's why I said, even though I've done it before, I wanted to go back through it and take my time and go through each line, because I kind of skimmed through it before. But when I was going back through it this time, like, man, there was so much stuff I skipped over that I really needed to bring out. So we'll kind of see what happens when we have sin in life. We're all doing some stuff we're not supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's perfect. Everybody falls short of the glory of God. We all do something we're not supposed to, but when we look at the story, we'll see when we're doing those things. Now, some of it little, I guess, minor things. Sin is sin, don't get me wrong, but some of it little minor things, but some of it is major things that we still do in our lives. And when you look at the story, we can see if we keep doing those things, where we're going to end up at. What can happen to us? The same thing that's going to end up happening to Samson can happen to us if we stay on the path we on and we don't get that sin out of our lives. So that's it for tonight. Y'all, I'm sorry I went over it, but I hope y'all help. Like I said, I know it's gonna be a lot because these videos are long, but man, I pray that y'all really put forth the effort to watch all of them. I hope you'll come back. If y'all will share with me tonight, I hope you come back next Monday, God willing, 7 o'clock next Monday night. I'll be doing part 3 of this. I'm not sure, because a lot of these points that I went over tonight is going to be repeated in the next chapter, but I have to see, because 16 is a really long chapter, so I probably will do the next chapter by itself. So it's going to be a 4-part series, and I told you, because I really want to take my time and go through this and pull this stuff out so you can see the results of sin. See, the reason why Samson's on this path he's on, like, again, he's not realizing how it's really affecting the world, the people around him directly, and the world as a large. He don't really see that. And also, he's not seeing how bad this thing's going to end. This thing's going to end really bad for him. And we will see the same thing we can do. That's why I say this is so important. We just getting, tonight is the first real, big bite into the meat. So I hope that, I pray that, that the Lord put in your heart, give you the want to watch the next 2 parts. We're going to be vital. I want y'all to really see what happens when you stay on this path, when you don't recognize that you're in the sin, you don't recognize what the sin is doing to you, and you end up staying on this path, and it take you to a dark place. So I thank y'all for joining me tonight. I'm going to go through my ending announcement, which y'all have heard a million times if y'all been watching any of my videos, so I can get out of here. So, of course, if there's anything in particular that I haven't covered already or you want me to talk about, y'all inbox me. I can always work that into my lesson plan. Like I said, for the next 2 weeks, most likely, I am going to be finishing up the story of Samson because I want y'all to get there. But, like I said, once that's over, I can always work few weeks after that. I can work that into my lesson plan. If not, I'm going to continue down this going through the book of Judges. Keep sharing the videos, telling people about the videos. I've had some wonderful feedback. I've had some wonderful things. It never look like people's watching videos, but there are people watching them, and there are people being helped by it, so that's a blessing to me. So y'all please keep sharing the videos and telling people about it, so people can get help from this. I really think this is the wisdom that God has given me to share with others, and I just want people to know what I know that has helped me get to where I am with my relationship with the Lord. So keep sharing and tagging people so we can keep this thing growing and going. Also, if you're not 100% sure about your salvation, I know this wasn't a salvation message, but if you're not 100% sure about salvation, if you're not 100% sure about where you would go when you go through the door called death, please reach out to me and let me know. And I would set up some time with you so I can go over the gospel with you so you can know for sure that when you go through the door called death that you will get to see Jesus on the other side. And if you need any kind of spiritual counseling, please reach out to me and let me know so we can schedule some time, whether you got questions or Bible, or something you want to talk about in the Bible, whatever it is of God, let me know. And I will schedule some time to spend with you so I can help try to do my best to answer the question with the wisdom that the Lord has given me. And as always, if you want to check out my videos, you don't want to scroll all the way through my Facebook page, you go here to youtube.com. God's Servant / Lost Sheep Ministry. Put a space between each word like that, and then take you to my channel. And we have to kind of do it like that because I don't have a whole lot of following. Because, like I said, people don't want to hear the truth. They reject the good and accept the bad. But again, go there and find all my old videos, all the videos I've done here recently, except for I think my last 3, I haven't got them on there yet. I've been lazy, but I will get them on there pretty soon, probably next week or so. I got a busy week this week, so next week or so I'll try to get them all on there. But for the most part, all of my videos is on my YouTube page if you want to go check them out as well. So again, I thank y'all for joining me. If any of my Lost Sheep people are still on here, tomorrow night we'll have our meeting in person. I'll be there to pick y'all up at the normal time. And like I said, God willing, please come back and watch. Now, I know it went a little long, but I hope this was helpful. I hope it was interesting for you the whole time. I hope maybe you saw yourself in here and understand some things you need to do. So please come back and watch the other part so we can see how this thing ends for Samson, because he did not get off that path that he had started on when he started sinning. So I thank y'all for joining me tonight. I'm going and praying. I'm going to get out of here. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for watching over us. Thank you so much for your wisdom that you've given me, Lord, to share these words. And when I look at the story of Samson, again, one of my favorite stories to read and talk about, Lord, because there's so much in there that applies to us that we deal with on a daily basis. So I just pray you just let your spirit work on the hearts and the minds of the people that are hearing there. Bring them under conviction. Give them the want to hear the full story so they can get this full lesson. And hopefully if there's some things going on in their world, that some sin they have in their heart that they would get rid of so they might not go down the same path that Samson went down, because it's not going to end good for them, Lord. And I pray that you help them see the same thing in their lives they got from some deliberate sin in their lives that's pulling them away from you is not going to end good. And I pray you're getting the wisdom and the conviction to get away from those sins before it's too late. Continue to watch over the ministry. Continue to help it grow, prosper, reach out to the community, change the lives of others. Be with River Lake Baptist Church. Continue to bless it, Lord, and just continue to be with all your servants as we do our part to honor and glorify your name and build your kingdom. Let's watch over me and my family. Continue to use us in a mighty way and build the Lost Sheep Ministry so we continue to do our part to bring this world back to you. Keep us all safe tonight and continue to keep your hand of protection upon us all so we can gather here again to honor and glorify your name once again. We love you and thank you for everything. And I say this prayer in your wonderful Son, Jesus' name. Amen. So again, thank y'all for joining me. Sorry for keeping you so late, but I hope it helped you. And please, even if you got to watch this in segments, go back and watch it. I think it's very informative, and I think it's very good. It's helping you see the sin in your life and help you realize the path you're on if you don't get that sin out of your life. So again, God willing, y'all be back with me next Monday at 7 o'clock. I'll be here to do the next part of it. And we're going to see as Samson get older, see if he gets any wiser. I'm going to let you know now, spoiler alert, he's not. But it's all for our benefit, because we're going to get to see what can happen if we don't do the same thing, if we go and do the same thing. So until the end, I love you all. I'm going to continue to pray for you all. Y'all continue to pray for me. And remember, just pray for the people in Ukraine and the situation, and definitely pray for our country to get back to where it needs to be, stand on the foundation of God. Until the end, I love you all. Remember, always watch your back and pray. I hope to see you next Monday. Peace.